All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Will Anderson, and welcome to continuing coverage of the Virtual World Cup. This is week 2 of pool play. We are just at the beginning of the broadcast schedule for this week. We've had one completed match already and one in progress right now. So Australia versus Pakistan, Jeremy Koo, Lord Livgren brought that to you, and Ed Oculitz at Oglehat. I think he's struggling a little with his internet, but he is currently covering Malaysia versus Thailand, and in just a few minutes, I will be bringing you Singapore versus Ghana. So let's get a look at week 1's results. So what happened last week? It was an awesome week of Scrabble. You can see here we've sorted the results. Winners on the left, sorted by the largest number of individual game wins. You can see the United States with 18. I'm glad to have contributed to that effort, and I could easily have lost some games in there, but I snuck away with more wins than maybe I should. But you can see Ireland and Thailand and India all right behind us, pretty close. 16, 15 and a half, and 15. Australia and Pakistan with 14 apiece, and Canada and Kenya sneaking past Ghana and Singapore. And obviously, we are not that far along in our week 2 results. We've just started play today. And again, that match score is not accurate. That was the score as of round 4, that 14-6 score. I'm not sure how things went in the 5th and final round between Pakistan and Australia, but either way, very surprising result there, with Pakistan very soundly beating Australia. Pretty big upset in our first match of the week. And you can see Singapore versus Ghana is the match that we're going to be bringing to you here on today's stream. Thanks, Andrew. Okay, so if it was 3-2 in the final round, then we can at least update that score so that the actual correct score, 16-9, which is still a surprising result for sure. Pakistan definitely continuing to announce themselves as a pretty big threat. They're a 3 seed in this tournament, and they are playing far above that level right now. So let's look at today's matchup. Don't look at that. Today's matchup, Singapore versus Ghana, 2 teams that you saw have lost their matchup last week by a mere 1 win apiece, 13-12. Singapore with Wei Bin, John Rong, Marlon, Hubert, and Jeremy, a solid team, one of the number 1 seeds in this tournament. And Ghana with Edwin, Ezekiel, Charles, Chris, and Michael. Let's have a look. I prepared this thanks to Wei Bin, by the way, his great tournament statistics kit. Here are the statistics that both teams compiled last week. You see, as I said, they both lost 12-13. Heartbreaking fashion in both matches, really, for different reasons. But if you look at Singapore's statistics, they actually compiled really impressive statistics despite losing their matchup last week. 444 points per game and allowed only 429. That's really good. I mean, those are statistics where if you are averaging that, you're probably going to win most of your matches. Very solid 59 bonuses, and you can see the blank count is one of the major reasons that Singapore came up on the losing end last week against Kenya. Very low total of blanks, only 19. Whereas Ghana with more even statistics against Canada, which it was an extremely even match throughout. And you can see they drew exactly half the blanks and had roughly equivalent average and average opponent scores. So I've been combing through the statistics. I have a little feature that I'm calling 5-point challenge, just 5 things that I thought were interesting. So Singapore with the 3rd highest spread of all teams, despite losing their matchup last week. So that usually, I know there are doubters in spread as a metric, but if you are going to put stock in spread, which I often do, it's a great sign for Singapore that they had a really solid spread last week, 3rd highest of all teams. Singapore did lose last week, but it was not because of Hubert Wee, who went 5-0 plus 658, as that was good enough for the top individual player in week 1. 17 bonuses, also the top individual total. But as you can see, other seeds on Singapore's team, Marlon, Jeremy, and Weibin, only 4 and 11. And I have a good feeling that those guys are going to rebound this week. So for Ghana last week against Kenya, they jumped out to a huge early lead, and Canada clawed back in a heroic fashion to win the match. Interesting statistic for Michael Kwao with a 460 average score, but only a 2-3 record. That is pretty amazing, but that's because his 2 wins were by enormous blowout and his 3 losses were very close. And for Ghana, Chris Plaka with 14 bonuses in week 1. That was good for the team lead. So let's look at the pool play standings. You can see 14 Domino saying this is a must win for both. That's absolutely true. You can see that both teams at 0-1 with only 3 weeks in pool play until the top 2 teams from each group advance to the bracket. It's going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible, for the team that loses this match to make the bracket as well, whereas the team that wins will basically control their own destiny with a second win in their week 3 matchup. All right, so you can see here is the full set of pairings that we are going to have today. 5 rounds, 5 games per round. And in round 1, we have some great matchups. So basically, I've got my polls all ready to go. And I'm letting you guys just vote in the chat. Just type 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Or you can type all that text out if you want. A little easier to do the numbers. Cesar's got his emote. That's beautiful. Yes, so basically whichever matchup you guys want to see, feel free to type that in now. We've got about 3 minutes until games begin. And there's going to be no shortage of great even matchups in this Singapore versus Ghana clash that we are slated to see here. So that poll should still be up as I head to the backup screen. Yes, I am here. So good question about ties. I'm not actually sure. It's fun, yes. So basically, the Singaporean contingent is definitely very active in my chat and other Scrabble streamers. So I expect a small bounce, or rather a small decrease in viewership today, as all the Singaporean players are playing their games as opposed to watching and hanging out in the chat. But it's there's no law saying that Singaporean players cannot vote for themselves or vote for other people to be streamed in their games. So I'm glad to report that it seems like my internet is doing okay. I had a crisis this morning when it just crashed completely. I had no internet as recently as like 15 minutes ago. So yeah, it looks like if you guys want, you can just have you can just vote for people that are not yourself to be on the stream. Like John Rong is a good choice. He went 3-2 last week, solid performance. So all right, we are not too far away from getting going. So again, hopefully things are going better for Ed over on his channel at Oglehat, twitch.tv/Oglehat. He is doing, oh, I guess, Weibin, I guess when you just wrote that 5, I think it voted for Jeremy versus Chris by accident. I think my poll has a bit of a hair trigger. But that's okay. We can just start off with John Rong versus Edwin. And I think I have all of those players are on my buddy list. I'm seeing, yep, there's Edwin logging on right now. Feel free to, yes, we've got the Bingy emote. That's what's new on my channel, Bingy Sanders. If you're a fan of my channel beyond the Virtual World Cup, you know all about the glory that is Bingy Sanders. But as an AI, he was not able to field 4 teammates to compete in this event. 5 Scrabble AI would be a really formidable team with Bingy as a top seed. Okay, so I will just assume that we will watch Edwin and Yongjan Rong. And I will get my graphics ready for that. So yeah, if we goodbye Weibin, good luck to Team Singapore, good luck to Team Ghana. Let's have a great match. Let me see. So we're gonna have John Rong versus Edwin, which is a matchup between the #1 seed of Ghana and the #2 seed of Singapore. So that looks like a pretty good matchup to choose to start. And basically, the players should feel free to start anytime. It is, thanks for the follow to Chia. It's been a long time no see in Prolific for Chia, but I guess I saw that it gives you eye strain, which is I was sorry to see that. And hello to Scrabbler8. Thanks for the follow. Yes, they have beefed up Prolific a little bit. They updated the dictionary. I'm very happy with some of the changes they've made. All right, so I am here. I'm ready to hone in. I see a couple of games are starting, but I'm pretty sure that the Edwin and John Rong game will start momentarily. John Rong, helpfully named, his ISC name is John Rong. Edwin's name, also helpfully, Edwin O 73. So there should be no confusion on which player is which, but I'll do my best to get the graphics right anyway. And I think the poll can be discontinued for now. I think you voted already, 14 Domino. I'm trying to get used to the best practice of not saying the names of people that I know well, just because we're trying to be professional broadcasting these big, cool Scrabble events like this. But so I'm seeing a couple more games launching here, but not the one that was selected to watch. So we're just, I'm sure, just momentarily. Is Edwin playing from Iceland? I'm not sure about that. I do not know. The person that would know that is probably Evans, who is having to schedule all the players. It's definitely an interesting challenge to schedule teams where there are expats who are playing for a different country than where they're currently living. And I know, for example, in this case, Ezekiel Marquet of Team Ghana is living in Florida in the US. So that's a little bit more challenging when you're having to come up with a time that works for one player in Florida and then maybe 4 players in Ghana. And then whichever other team is playing, for example, Singapore, at least all the Singaporean players are actually, I believe, based in Singapore right now. But you know, there's David Eldar living in England, and there's definitely many more examples of players that are not actually living for the team that they're playing. All right, the game has started, and it is John Rong going first against Edwin, and he's drawn a blank, which we like to see. So I guess the question here is it worth keeping the X with a play like Fury, or should he just play Fix? Yes, Corny says Cedric Lewis, another example. Cedric was an alternate last week for Team Malaysia. It's possible that going forward he will be used sparingly, but it's also possible that he could find himself playing more. All right, let me see here. Just make sure I have this correct before we continue on. Okay, I am all set up graphically, I believe. Flags are right, and so he does opt to play Fury. So that's nice because it sets up a nice place to play the X alongside Fury. But obviously keeping the X with the blank is a word that I've often heard used in situations like that is antithetical, because the X is good for scoring and the blank is good for bingoing. And those two things are often at cross purposes. But I'm pretty sure that's still a nice play, just because even on a 2-turn basis, you're going to often see an X play get played there with XU and then a bingo on the next turn. So the 2-turn combination of those two plays together is probably a nice benefit of playing Fury. I think I am warming up to Fury for that reason, but it really couldn't probably go wrong playing Fix, or maybe even just XU, Zoo. So a lot of different ways one could have gone there. I guess the thing about Fury being played in that spot, as we can see, Edwin lost contact for a minute. I'm going to make sure I refollow. Okay, I'm not sure what happened with Edwin. He disconnected, and I didn't join quickly enough to see what happened. It looks like he probably exchanged. But Fury in that spot, definitely, it has that advantage, but on the other hand, it sets off a little bit of an alarm bell, because why would you play Fury in that spot without a Q or an X when you could have played Fury one spot up, right? If you played Fury here, it wouldn't have put a U next to the double letter score. It would have put a U right here instead. So, but John Rong is going to be able to play something at the very least. He'll play box or something like that. He's probably at least doing his due diligence to see if there's some kind of improbable bingo. Sorry to hear that, Jeremy. Yeah, I see. Let's see. Jeremy's opponent must be Chris Plaka, who I'm sure he'll be along shortly. Okay, so we see the X go down. The setup has worked. Looks like a decent play. That play of XU just left Obaya blank. I think I wouldn't have minded playing box there for a few more points, just because even though you're not keeping a consonant, the B is not a particularly great consonant. But that's hard to find too much fault with that play. I guess you could also say that it sets the B up in that spot. So now you would have Burr plays coming down. But those aren't really worth worrying about, because you're really hoping to bingo, not just continue to set 3-point tiles up. But again, that's a perfectly solid choice. So 56 points, 56-0 in the early going. That's shutouts in Scrabble are not particularly common. Okay, and Edwin is now on the board. That's an interesting play. He just played OH, which at first blush that looks a little weird, but he has a solid S-containing leave to go with it. But I definitely think that John Rong is going to bingo here. There's definitely bingos available. I expect him to find one. At the very least, a Boolia. Yeah, there's a Boolia. So I wonder if he thought about playing that with Oho. Is the only issue there. I was thinking he would potentially take that O hook out right now. As there could be a moving tribute to Evan Borofsky here for Edwin. If he sees it through the O of a Boolia, it's going to be a play that scores a lot of points. But yeah, for John Rong, had he played that with the Oho hook, so he had a Boolia available here for 10 more points, and also definitely opening less, so it's a better, well, it still opens a fair bit, actually. It's gonna, had he played Abulia down there, I think the 10 more points is really the salient detail, because Abulia would have opened an S-hook and another pretty good lane, so it's not like it's that different for board control, or the board is that much better to be up on. I think it's just the 10 points, really. Oh, actually, so yeah, Ev Zones is there, but actually, even better than that is just Azines through there to the A of Abulia. That's going to score even better. So really big early lead for young Jon Rahm against Edwin Boama, but Edwin does find his best play. 70 points for Azines. Nice play. That looks quite good. So he, I think with an exchange and then a 10-point fishing play in the early going, he's basically, I mean, that's, he didn't bingo, but he might as well have. He scored 70, which was more than Jon Rahm's bingo of 67. So he's not down by that much. Let's see what's available here. I'm imagining that there must be something up high here. At the very least, maybe something like that would be a good idea if you can spot that strange play. There it goes. As soon as I typed it in, it goes down. So that's definitely a solid idea. I'm not sure if there was a better choice there. So just as Edwin got 70 points to kind of get back in, a pretty nice parallel play for 42 opens the lead back up. So for anyone just joining us, welcome. This is the Virtual World Cup week 2 of pool play. We had week 1 last week, just wall-to-wall Scrabble all weekend. It was really awesome. And hopefully it's going to be more of the same this week and next. Actually, I think that Clever, Evans, and Jen have scheduled it so that the matchups get better and better in terms of the top seeds will start to play each other next week. There's going to be a ton of really strong matchups. I think also that there's such parity in this tournament that every week is going to have awesome matchups. So the only matchup that I'm aware of having been completed fully as of right now is Pakistan with an upset over Australia, 16-9, very solid win over a #1 seed for Pakistan, as we see Ovate go down for Edwin. That looks pretty good. I wasn't looking too carefully as I'm prattling on about the event, but that seems like a good way to score and ditch your V clunky letters there. Okay, we can pop over to this screen now. It looks a little better. Not only that, on this screen, I can also offer, if we want to look at some Quackle choices, we can do that. So here we have an example of some of the plays that Quackle likes just without simulation. And we can see that Jon Rahm just popped down one of those plays of Google. It also likes Goglet, which Goglet would have played to the T of Ovate right here. It looks pretty similar plays, those two. They score exactly the same. They leave exactly the same leave. So I would imagine that a longer sim would show those two plays to be closer to equal. Okay, so Edwin's drawn bingo on his rack, and he has a place to play it because Ovate is a verb in Collins. So if he thinks of it, if he realizes that that's a verb, we should be seeing a bingo go down here, a vapored. And that he really needs it at this score. He's down 80. He needs those points in a big way, 75 points. So the only issue with vapored, obviously, is once it's on the board, it's going to give very significant counterplay back to Jon Rahm. So you can see vapored is going to go down there. But oh, wow. So a lot of plays could have played parallel to vapored afterwards that would have scored a ton of points, but that cue is going to prevent Jon Rahm from really playing parallel, and sure enough, he plays cat, which must have been his best option there, leaving a bunch of vowels behind. He just had no better way, really, to play further down. And that is just the break that Edwin needed, because now he's drawn the second blank. John Rong drew the first earlier in the game. And I think he should be able to find some stuff here at the very least. Something like Grimiest is a pretty, if you just, all you have to do is think about that G as a possibility. And that's a word that a veteran Scrabble player, like all of these players are going to come up with pretty quickly. So the tables are turning here in this game. It was all Team Singapore in the early going. John Rong playing Fury to start, getting an exchange from Edwin, cashing his X, and then bingoing and going up 100. But he's slowed down just a little bit, and 2 bingos in a row are going to deliver the lead back to Ghana and Edwin here. So hopefully Jeremy and his opponent are playing. Yeah, they are. Okay, so all 5 games in the first round are actually underway. I don't need this poll here. Sorry, folks. And there is Grimiest. So the tables have fully turned now. And really quickly, a response from John Rong of Ew in the corner, or in the lower right hand of the board. That looks all right. I wasn't actually even sure what he had. But this has rapidly become a really, really good board to be up on. Just look at the geometry of it. This XU area really walls off a ton of area here. Oho does not take an S, not even in Collins. So this area is pretty walled off. So Edwin plays Cub, which actually sort of runs at cross purposes to being up on this board. I wonder if he couldn't have found some way of not playing that. I know it's very tempting to score that well, to, just balance and score well, but the problem with Cub is that it creates the cube hook and Skur. So now there are a couple different spots on the board which had been so dead. Now it's going to be a lot easier. I might have liked to see him play something like New and Novated instead. That does put an E out in space to hit, but it has to be a terminal E, the last letter in the word, and then the only other thing that the play of New would put out on the board is a W in open space. Hardly a threat. So by playing Cub, it's definitely created a board now that it was totally closed off, and now there's a lot more to it. As Mock is played in response. So Mock actually, it does create Emu and Amu hooks that go alongside, but now it's actually a little bit trickier to play things that go underneath. So we'll see if we ever... It's very possible that we do not see Mock getting hooked at any point. And a sufficiently closed play right now in this area is going to close the board right back up. So we shall see how this unfolds. Yeah, see, a play like that is pretty annoying to deal with. Again, that could have been played with Novated. I wonder if that's just being overlooked. But in this case, Wen scores 27, whereas Novated would have scored only a couple more points. So in that sort of situation, it's okay to sacrifice a point or two to get a board that makes you more comfortable going forward. Nice hooking play by John Rong to score 27. He is very close behind. It's definitely totally within his toolbox here to get back into the game by outscoring if he can just hit a difficult enough rack for Edwin, if Edwin is saddled with a bad rack. But at the same time, the board is somewhat bereft of really powerful scoring opportunities. So we see Race go down. That takes a lot of hooks. You could imagine a bunch of plays now that hook here, something like gifts or glyphs or flits maybe. I mean, some of those plays give back more, like, flits gives back fairly big counterplay. Glyphs not as much, maybe a little bit harder. Yes, Edwin's last name is an anagram of US president. We should probably not get too deep into politics on a Scrabble stream, but I think we've probably noted that. So yeah, I wonder, let's just have a look. I'm doing a quick sim. I don't really put too much stock in this, but we're just seeing which of the plays that hook race are being favored in simulation. Really quick, dirty two-ply simulation. Thank you to Mind Games Incorporated for the follow. Appreciate that. I think that could be one of our Irish players, if I'm not to give too much away. But thanks very much for following. So we do see glyphs be played, which is interesting because it sacrifices a fair number of points, but it probably gets a lot of those points back on a little bit better defense. So John Rong quickly, he's playing quickly. He responds with Ivy, which definitely a good rack balancing play, but does not do a terrible amount to open the board or create threats that Edwin has to worry about. And very quickly in response, Dell is played, which obviously that opens a triple, but he's going up by 50, and it's going to be very difficult to score anything. It's only a 3-letter spot for anything to play there. So maybe I mean, the worst that John Rong's rack can do there is DAK, D-A-K, which I think he may be apt to do that, but I think it's just not. I think he needs more of a serious threat here. I would like to, if he can, I think it's definitely worth playing something ending in A just to get an S hook on the board, or U. Anything in that vein in this spot, I think would be really helpful to him just to create a threat that Edwin has to deal with. Let's see if there is anything helpful. Yeah, how about Duka? D-U-K-A, maybe something like that. That scores relatively well. It sort of continues the possibility of maybe outscoring your way. I guess the thing about this, all right, so let's look at the pool. I know it's a little tight now in the bottom left part of the screen, but you can see the pool here. Okay, so he does play DAK instead. So the thing I was going to say about DAK there is, had he played Duka instead, he scores roughly the same amount, and he could induce a low-scoring block of the bingo lane afterwards, right? So imagine Duka is on the board. It creates a bingo lane that Edwin may feel compelled to block, and that still gives John Rong a chance to, had he not played DAK, he might have drawn something like Raj, right? If he draws the J along, he would have had to redraw another A, so it's not particularly likely. But that seemed like the biggest play that could potentially fit in that spot. And maybe the combination of Duka and a low-scoring block of the new bingo lane for Edwin would have let Raj be the outscoring pathway that John Rong is going for here. So instead, this is a tough situation here, actually. Okay, that's a nice idea, just to burn through some tiles of Plaint. He's clinging to his lead, but it doesn't really seem like John Rong has any way. He's drawn a couple of good bingo tiles, the S's, that they do absolutely nothing on this board now. The board has just been, it had its moment of openness right here after Cub, and after Mock and Wena and Glyph, it's just condensed back down again. So these tiles are not really of tremendous use to John Rong here. It's not clear to me what he's going to do. I just don't imagine. So the ways he could, in theory, win are getting a bingo down, but doing that is next to impossible because even plays like this that empty the bag, if he were to draw something, I would imagine it will almost always be blockable just with a simple vowel play here, unless he draws exactly correctly. So the other way would be, I guess, in theory, you could somehow set the J up in a way that scores well. But again, that should be relatively easily blockable. So I think this is looking grim right now for Yang Jianrong against Edwin Boama. I think Ghana is going to notch a win in this game, barring something strange occurring. But that's why we watch the games play out, because strange things can and do occur frequently. I'm just going to make sure I'm caught up so that we can see if the endgame is interesting. We can get some answers on what's going on. I will give Quackle a chance to say what it comes up with here. Obviously, this is a tricky situation. Oh, good suggestion there of Nub. Yeah, Nub could make at least somewhat of an annoying decision. It doesn't look like it's going to, create. I don't think there's any play that's like a slam dunk. This play is going to create draws that absolutely win the game. Unless playing Nub with leaving IIRSS draws into some word ending in I that plays in 2 spots. That's what you would need. So that could be tricky. Sirtuins suggested, are we seeing that? Well, that is definitely something that is available to draw, but is that going to fit anywhere? So plenty of time for both players to think it over in the pre-endgame and endgame. Quackle's still chugging away. I'll let you guys know if it comes up with anything that we think it has some hope. There we go. Okay, nice idea. Good morning to Muffin with Tentacle. That's a nice idea. So sub in this spot right here is the exact sort of play that I was mentioning that I didn't think existed after Nub. But you can see based on the pool that's available, there definitely is at least one play that threatens 2 spots or Scenario. Now, the problem with that, though, is that even then, it should be blockable, right? If you put sub on the board, Scenario E goes here, right there. So if you can come up with a 5-letter word, all you need is a 5 that ends in a vowel. So that I wonder, is that not possible? So I guess if you play that and you draw AE, that's what you would have to draw for Scenario E after sub. I guess that would, by definition, allow your opponent to play intro or nitro or something like that, leaving JN. Does that then get you into trouble with the J? That's an interesting, we're looking real far ahead now. But so theoretically, even after the best case draw, there will be blocks that block both spots for the bingo. You would have to, think to do that. I'm pretty sure that Edwin will realize that, but I'm just wondering if the fact that you're leaving the J behind. So when you play intro after sub to block this spot, then you'll have at least one spot to play Jin to go out. But if that gets blocked, is that it for your J? Looking around. So you could get into trouble with that. Oh, Joe, right, of course. Okay, so that does it for that. Yeah, just the obvious Joe. So even our best guess of a play that could create a tough situation for Edwin here from Jianrong's perspective is still not enough. There were definitely a number of moves earlier in the game. Okay, so we see SI be played. Potentially he was going for something that fits here or here. But Nortina. Okay, that is a worst case scenario, obviously. That is not, that's going to be That was going to be tough, even with the play that we had pointed out of just sub right here. So, all right, so that's going to be a win. So let's see. I'll go to the matchup coverage. That was round 1, game 2. And that's going to be a win for Ghana. It looks like, oh, wow, most of these games are completed. So let's just have a look, and we're going to see right down the line that it looks like Hubert won his game. And it looks like, did Weibin win his game? Yes, he did. So Singapore did not win the game that we saw, but a couple of other ones right off the bat. Let's just see. It looks like Jeremy is absolutely in good shape. Let me go back to this so we can not be confused about who's playing who. So it looks like Jeremy is going to come out on top, and that will certainly clinch round 1 for Singapore, which is a good start that they were hoping for. And what about Marlon versus Ezekiel? He won too. All right, so let's just cut over real quick to the matchup coverage, where I will put, first of all, let me get my poll up for round 2. We finished this poll. Round 2 streaming matchup. I've got all these pre-made. So feel free to get your votes in now while we tally up the results in round 1. It looks like it's going to be a very strong 4-1 result to start things off for Singapore, which I would not be surprised to see a big bounce back effort from Singapore here, although Ghana also started out so strong against Canada. You could see that. Is not going to happen now, but maybe they can flip the script and do what Canada did and come back in the match after a tough start. All right, so let me just get this score correct. It is 4-1 in the early going. So you can see round 1 is a 4-1 win for Singapore over Ghana. I will continue to, so the poll is still running. And some of the games, I believe, have, the next set of games are potentially starting. Nobody should have to wait. All right, it looks like Hubert and Zeke. Yeah, that was a pretty amazing promotion by Jeremy Koo for his stream between Hubert and Ryan Wee, the stream of Wee. That was, and there's Ed chiming in, a golden idea. Sorry about that internet issues, Ed. Hopefully just a one-time thing. Every few streams I have internet issues. That's just the internet. So feel free to continue to vote until the next set of games are up. I think there are 1, 2. At least, we're still watching the last move or so of Chris and Jeremy here. But as soon as, what happened? Oh, I see. He may be having internet issues. So is there any, are people getting any updates on the other? So we'll just go back to the broadcast screen while we're waiting. You can see Singapore versus Ghana, the match that we're bringing to you on this stream. But if people give any updates, did I mess up the? Yes, I have it as 4-1. I just don't have that here because it's a different screen. But I can change that, actually. That would have been clever. Oh yeah, flags are swapped. Good point. Australia's flag. Where are you? There you go. We'll get these right. The Pakistan flag, away you go. Thank you for that. All these little flag icons. I do like them, but they require constant updating. So if anybody knows what's going on with Malaysia versus Thailand, let it be heard, and I'll try to update that too for when we cut back to this screen. So just waiting on this game to start, and here it is. Okay, very good. I see the flags need to be updated. Hold on. There we go. All right, so second round game, we're going to be covering Ezekiel Marquez, who's going first for Ghana, versus Hubert Wee for Singapore. Hubert, as if you watched from the beginning, you remember that I pointed out Hubert's extremely impressive performance last week, best of all players from any team. 5-0 plus 658, I believe. And also the most bingos of any player. So and he's off to another good start with a win here. So Hubert is definitely doing his part for Team Singapore, as Calx has played right off the bat for Zeke. And Hubert has, the good news is that he has 2 S's, and the bad news is he has a bunch of vowels without even an E among them. So tricky rack here. Probably calls for fishing some of the vowels with something like OU right here. And that is what's played relatively quickly. So Zeke, I think, had, I guess I shouldn't call him Zeke when his name says call me Z. But I will call him Ezekiel. So he should be able to get a bingo down here, I think. Let me just get the other screen ready for these guys. Hubert. This is a matchup between the 4 seed and the 2 seed, which is kind of surprising. Hubert, I know, a very highly rated player in WESPA, but maybe he's just at a bit of a nadir somehow. Because it's odd. I think he, within the Singaporean rating system, may be one of the highest rated players, if not the highest. All right. So he plays Hornlet, which does look like the best. Oh, wow, and Scarios. Yeah, Scarios can come right back down. And Hubert definitely is very strong in word knowledge. I see. So he's top in the Singaporean rating list, but 4th highest Singaporean in WESPA, so hence the 4th seed. I mean, the seedings for this tournament are purely by WESPA rating, so I knew he had to be 4th on this team if he was the 4th seed here, but I just wasn't remembering. I knew that at least some rating system somewhere he was the top Singaporean player. And really, there's a great deal of parity between these players. A lot of strong players on Team Singapore. Okay. So Hornlet goes down for Ezekiel. Scarios goes right back down for Hubert. And Mangles is here on Ezekiel's rack to answer back. He can, at the very least, he can play Mangles here with M and Lota. And he does. Another option, I don't think it's necessarily better, is he could have played Glassmen right here, but that would have created a very big scoring spot with the E, with the E being placed right here, and then a word going down through the E would have scored a lot. So I think Mangles, which is only 2 fewer points, is probably a good idea, just from a defensive standpoint. So Ezekiel with a pretty solid lead so far over Hubert. Hubert's drawn poorly again. So we'll see if he can do the trick that he pulled with OU, where if he can somehow play some small number of these tiles off. I think in this case he might have to play more. By the way, Thank you to Guanhee SG for the follow. I think that's, yeah. Hi, Jared. Good to see you. Glad to have you along with us. Oh, wow. Yeah, Aeolian painfully close to fitting on the board. That's really too bad. The L of Mangles is just tantalizing, but Aeolian would go one letter off the board, which is a shame because that would really have bailed him out from this rack for sure. So what is he going to have to do here? Does he have the stomach for something like Eocene? I don't know if I do. I think I would probably prefer something like Oni here, even at this deficit. I just don't like the insanity of that. Maybe playing Eocene here. Maybe that's the compromise. So if he plays Eocene here, it leaves En behind, which we like, and it creates a pretty good bingo line and doesn't do much to prevent scoring. Or rather, let me try that again. It doesn't do much to give good scoring opportunities back to Ezekiel. This spot, I guess, is kind of scary after playing Eocene there, if you can fit something that goes all the way through the E of Scarios. But other than that, not so bad. Oh, the Eocene, yes, that's the Benji special, Julia Bogle's amazing play of Eocines. That was a tough one. Okay, so he does play Oni, which that's interesting because, I mean, that's definitely safer than a lot of the plays of the positions of Eocene that I was pointing out. But the problem with it is that it's kind of a tough play for Hubert at a deficit because the E and S and L of Mangles are so helpful to stay open. So it sort of plays a little bit into Zeke's hands as he plays Kemb instantly for 48 points. That is not what Hubert wanted to see. He does draw. After Oni, he drew both W's, and he very quickly plays Wah with them. I can't imagine there was anything much better than that. But so basically the after effect of a play like Oni now is, so after Oni, that closed off a lot of this part of the board. Calx obviously does not hook, so there's nothing available there. So a lot of the board is now walled off, right? This whole area of the board is walled off, and then after Oni, which did make a good line to, you know, potentially bingo to, Hubert was forced to dump his W's, and Ezekiel blocked this area. So now, basically, after all of this, the only area that's really open is here. So sufficiently defensive play now to the C, and there it is, Yannick. So that was the play that I was building towards suggesting, and it came down right at the exact crescendo moment of, I mean, it does, admittedly, the Y in this spot could create situations where a bingo for Hubert scores so much it gets him right back in the game, but those bingos are not particularly likely. So I do like the play of Yannick. It scores great in a vacuum, but it also creates a situation where the bingos now that Hubert has to have in order to play to the tiles of Yannick are very specific, as opposed to any 7 ending in a vowel that would have played had he not addressed that spot. Let's pop over to this part of the game. I can see I have the things wrong. There we go. So this is looking good so far for Ezekiel Marquet against Hubert. Hubert, who has not lost yet. And Guttard is going to come down. Hubert opens the board with UFO, and Guttard is going to come down instantly, and that really is likely to finish Hubert off in this game, in fact, because he's going to be down by roughly 200 points. So that might be enough to get us to switch to another game, in fact. But that's just bad luck. I mean, what can you do? Well, I guess Hubert has drawn Eversion, so we'll stick with this just a little bit, because it's very possible after Eversion that if Ezekiel draws really poorly and Hubert draws the blank, maybe that's the scenario where he could potentially get back into this game. I'll give Hubert a chance to find a version. Okay, he did, but unfortunately for him, Ezekiel has 2 R's for reversion. He'll definitely be able to play something. He could just play Jedi or something if he wants to save his R's, but he could also just play Droit up top with reversion, and that should pretty much, I mean, he's going to be in good shape. Let's see if I'm not thinking of anything. Yeah, Jedi. Oh, well, I guess he could play Roji up top with reversion if he wants. I'm not sure. So if he plays Roji, all right, he plays Trod instead, which is all right. That's fine. So this is definitely getting out of hand for Hubert. He hasn't really made any major false steps in this game. No moves that you could point to and say like, wow, that was obviously a huge mistake. The only, I mean, Oni potentially not the play I would love to make at a deficit, but it's hard to really fault it. He wasn't down by that much that he needed to change his strategy. He does find his best play of Cubit here, leaving Zap. So maybe he can draw something big with the Z and start to get back. We'll stick with this just to see if Hubert can make any magic happen. There's still enough game, I guess, that it could happen. So yeah, let's just see what numbers Quackle is giving for the winning percentage here. 99.1, 99. We're in the 99, 98 areas. So play that's being suggested is one of the favorite plays for people to hate on in Collins, I find, or to jokingly refer to as a sign of, you know, Collinsness, of Erived, which I think I have my bot going. Yeah, you can query anything. So yeah, that's often cited by both Collins lovers and Collins haters, I find, as a sign of either the book's charming, quaint, you know, inclusion of old-timey words, or words that have not been uttered in English usage in hundreds of years and probably wouldn't be missed too much in a modern English lexicon. But I like it. I admit I kind of like that word, and words like it in general. I don't mind them so much. Wow, what a troll here of a natural Zaptia that does not play anywhere. That's too bad. How often do you draw Zaptia to begin with? And now Hubert does not have a cool place to play it. Very looked like a good play. Obviously, we see it was simming second. Not that the sims mean a great deal when the winning percentages are getting this high. Zeta goes down. That looks all right. 46 points. So Hubert is actually, given the fact that his last few moves have been a bingo for 76. I know it came on the heels of Guttard for 90, but Hubert's last few moves have been 76-point bingo, 51-point Q play, and a 46-point Z play. And to make matters worse, it blocked the probably the best place that Ezekiel had to score well with his J right here. So he's sort of creeping back. You can see the score is getting to be a little bit closer. He needs 1 or 2 more plays like that where he can outscore Ezekiel to get back into a situation where a bingo would help him. The only problem is that the board is really tight. I mean, he's going to have to get that. He probably has to get the second blank and draw something huge with the Y in first position. Obviously, the D is potentially open here. The nice thing about Vary from Ezekiel's perspective is that, I mean, it's a great blocking play in and of itself, but it particularly blocks the Q, which would have been the most disastrous. Oh, Jared being available is pretty bad news. That looked pretty good. And Hubert is nowhere close to getting that bingo, but he can play Jap. So if he plays JAAP right here, now he's in a situation where if he does draw that blank, and he does, but it looks like Ezekiel got to it first. So now that's not fatal to Hubert, but it's definitely, it hurts because his chances now of drawing a rack flexible enough to bingo in both spots are very minimal. So I think that ought to do it for this game. It seems difficult to imagine how Hubert is going to steal this one away, but he did a really good job to keep scoring and finding all of his best plays until there was really no game left for him to continue his comeback. So basically, the only recommendation that I would probably have for Ezekiel here is to try not to empty the bag, just to be careful. I think probably he'll still win the game if he does. Like if he plays something like Firmed right here, that's likely to put him up by enough that even a big out bingo. Oh, he plays Frib, which is definitely a safer way to go. Maybe Firmed would lose to Photopia. I wonder. You have to check the math on that. So Firmed would have put him up by maybe 100. Oh yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. That scores such a low number that it could be. It might not be enough anyway. But that's a good idea too, to play End in the corner. Hubert basically saying, "All right, I give. I've done my best." So, Frib for Ezekiel, a light for Hubert, and does Snooted or De-Snood or anything play anywhere? I don't know. Looks like maybe, yeah, looks like no bingos. Not that it even matters, just, well, it does matter because spread is somewhere on the list of tiebreakers. So definitely worth having a look for Ezekiel to see if he can, de-snood. To remove a turkey snood. And dare I ask, okay, well, that's to remove a turkey's hairnet. I don't know about that. I think we need a little more context. Can anyone help us understand what de-snood actually means? I'm sure that snood has some anatomical Spherulitic pointing out no 11s through BARI, which is a shame. And who would see them short of the Nige himself? But that would be nice. Yeah, so Zeke is going to look a little, and or Z, I should say. I think I'll figure it out. I'll learn to say that correctly just by staring at his ISC name long enough. Okay, so he's cut bait on that rack, realizing correctly, or assuming correctly that no bingos play. And Hubert goes out with Yop. So, okay. Nice win there for Ezekiel Marquet against Hubert Wee. That's Hubert's first loss. Let me see what other people wanted to see in the poll. Wei Bin versus Chris. Let's cut straight to that game and see where they are. Oh, in fact, this is going to be especially nice because I guess Chris got a late start on the game, so we still have a ton of game to go. Thank you. Thank you all for the extra information about the snoods. Very exciting content. Snood is currently in pole position, no pun intended, for the word of the stream. All right, let's see. let me, oh, the flags probably are not correct here. Thank you very much. There we go. I'm going to start, so that was a win for Ezekiel Marquet. Nicely done to him. So that is just what the doctor ordered for Ghana, that they need more wins than that. Let's see, we have, it looks like Yong Jan Rong defeated Michael Kwao in their second round matchup. So that's another win for Singapore. So it is, as of right now, it is 1-1. This game between Weibin and Chris still underway. Let me just see what's going on really quickly in these other games. Pardon the flags not being correct. Looks like Jeremy is going to squeak out another win here. And let's have a look at Marlon. Very, very tight game here. So actually, maybe what we should do is stay with this game, even though the Weibin versus Chris Plaka game is still in progress. I see the flags are off again. All right, now they're right. Just because this game is pretty close, and the other game is likely to still have more to watch later on. So, all right, this game is literally an exact tie. Perfect tie between Edwin Boama and Marlon Prudencio, who I impersonated, or rather, I impersonated a devotee of Marlon on Aerolith at one point at the behest of, I believe, Jeremy Koo. So at some point, the joke became real, and I too am a devotee. Thank you to Kieval for the follow. Thanks for coming along. Hope you enjoy the coverage. So you can see in round one, it was a 4-1 win for Singapore, and right now it's looking like a close round two. It could go either way. This game could go either way. I think Jeremy is likely to win his game, so maybe a slight edge to Singapore again, but we'll see if Ghana can save the round and fight on. There's Hubert in the chat. Don't worry, Hubert. That was your first loss so far. The team's doing well this week. Can't win them all. You played fine. We had no real criticism. Berkey being suggested up high with Quern. That looks pretty good. But so Edwin's on turn right now. What are the threats to him here? I'm a little bit worried about plays with Buttes or Beauty. That seems like something I would love to address if I could. Whoever has that last S. Oh, and out there it is, Outvise. So Outvise is going to come right down. Berkey, Cab doesn't really matter what Edwin played there. Outvise is going to come down and deliver Marlon a solid lead, 30-point lead. So the thing about Outvise is it does make a spot here, but it also makes a second one here. So it's possible that between those two plays, Marlon can hold on to his lead after. I mean, there's definitely plays that are going to hit pretty hard here. Just Rhymy or something. Scores pretty well. But I guess the thing about that also is there's a blank unseen too. So I guess Marlon could pull the blank and bingo to this L or something like that. Yeah, I just said rhymey, not grimy. I don't think you can fit anything that much further. But yeah, so I don't know. It's okay. Mighty, that's fine. That might be a little bit better. But wow, there is that blank. Is anything playable? Does it matter? It definitely matters, actually. Okay. So here's the thing about Mighty. It scored well enough. It scored 50. It gave Edwin a solid lead, enough that now Marlon has to be careful of scoring too few. He could just play PEA and empty the bag and probably be fine in the endgame. Good question regarding the results of the other matches. It's possible that they are going up on the site at this link. If people are keeping track of that match and know how it's ended up, definitely feel free to let me know. I would love to I would love to keep tabs on both, but it's not in the cards for me right now. But hopefully we can get an update on how that match went between Malaysia and Thailand. Malaysia really needing a win after losing to India in week 1, and Thailand with a really impressive win over the United Kingdom, a number 1 seed. Really, really solid win for them in week 1. So Thailand, a number 4 seed, beating a number 1. Admittedly, one of the reasons that the UK was a number 1 seed was the inclusion of Harshan on the team, which he was not actually able to play. So, okay, so there is that play. I had actually said maybe he should play the A as well, just because it's very unlikely that Edwin has a bingo, and it's fine, I think, I don't know if the endgame timing works out that much better for him holding an A back. Maybe it does. But now he could potentially have 3 A's in the endgame, so I think I would have favored him playing the A there, even though it emptied the bag, and just kind of cutting bait on having perfect endgame timing and just going for maxing out your chances of threatening a bingo. First of all, if you play your A, you can definitely threaten bingos more often than if you hold 2 of them behind. Anytime you threaten playable bingos, it really messes up Edwin's endgame timing. The other thing I like about it is just to avoid those endgame situations where you have 3 A's. So, but I could be wrong. It's possible that not emptying the bag is a better idea. In general, it's definitely a good idea. All right, so how is Edwin going to capitalize on this? I'm looking to see if he has anything through the eye of Outvis that hits hard. I think he would ideally like to use as many tiles as he can. But hitting something heavy in this particular square is really, that square is the key. If he can hit something big there. I'm looking, I'm not seeing anything that makes me, like Prig, is that the best that can be done? I don't know. If anybody sees any good plays in that spot, definitely let me know. Let us know. But this is going to be a tight one. Yeah, maybe. So if he could go out in 2 by playing through the eye of Outvis, maybe that's the way to do it. So are we thinking something like just rigid and hope for... If he plays rigid and leaves hop and draws an A, what happens to him? He has Opa. I don't know. I don't know if that's good enough. Maybe he needs to play something here. Yeah, this spot, this eye of Outvis is basically given the pool consisting literally only of 1-point tiles and a blank, leaving this eye open. If he has a better place to play, that guarantees him to go out, as Benji says. Maybe something to this E. Let's see. What about something just like a hip? That might not be enough. That might be not enough. Porgy. Leaving DH. So after that, if you draw one of the A's or any of the vowels, actually. Okay, he plays Gip instead. So he drew Horde, but I don't think that's going to play anywhere. That's still going to be annoying. This is going to be an annoying endgame for Marlon. He has a fair bit of time to think of it, but I think he should be able to win this game if Edwin can't go out. I think. Maybe not. This is tricky. Trying to figure out this endgame on the fly. Oh, nice play. That's a great play. That should do it. Auralia through the Eye of Outvies. As long as Edwin does not have a place to play Horde, he has an outplay that does not fit anywhere on this board. I guess he can just play Doe. I don't know. There's probably Yeah, E blank is definitely going to be enough to score something somewhere next turn. So that's a great play by Marlon there. But yeah, so good suggestion of Porgy on the Gip turn. I definitely think that after piecing it together, the right decision for Edwin there was not to play something like Gip, but to burn as many tiles as possible. And Porgy would have been, to this E of Quern, would have been the way to do that. So he would have drawn an O, and he would have had many places to play out with DOH or HOD or something. So that was a very tricky pre-endgame, but it looks like we identified at least one move there that would have potentially brought the win back to Edwin Boama there over Marlon Prudencio. But Marlon made a great play of Auralia in the endgame to shed as many of his A's, all of them, in fact, in one go and score nicely and set himself up to play Jawed for 28 as an outplay next turn. Easy win there. Once he got that far, but only because he spotted that play that let him get rid of AAALR and score well in the process. So that is a really nice play. Let me not have this poll. Actually, why don't we just finish the poll? And let's see. So Marlon comes out on top over Edwin, and I think Jeremy reported that he defeated Charles Tacky Menson. Yes, he did. So the last game of the round, it looks like they may just have finished as well. I think they just finished. And it looks like Weibin defeated Michael. Oh, wait. What happened? Did I lose my... Oh, I think Chris Plock looks like he disconnected. That's what happened. Okay, so alrighty. Was confused about that. So basically, right now, it looks like the Singaporean squad is well on their way to avenging their loss last week. I think they're up 7-2 overall, pending the results of the game between Chris Plaka and Weibin. Okay, so with that, that game, not sure what's going on with Chris's internet, but why don't we just go back to the matchup coverage and get up our poll for round 3 so we can decide what to watch next round. So you can see this is round 3 that's in the lower left, and now I put the poll up so you can see some good matchups. I guess at any time I could take an executive decision here. Who is John Rong playing? Oh, he's just getting in maybe a blitz game. That's nice. So yeah. Wow, very strong Weibin result so far. That's definitely a good choice. So I would caution that Weibin is waiting for Chris Plaka to come back, and that game already started late because of Chris having internet problems. Very, yes. Yeah, it definitely takes people away. I'm on WordBiz. I just think it looks a little more elegant to stream. Cesar with his emote. I am so happy that you have that. All right, let's cut back to the game screen. I'll get the poll back. Keep the votes coming, folks. So it looks like Chris Plaka might be having some serious issues. So I definitely endorse having a look at Weibin's game, but that it looks like through no fault of his own. Yeah, I don't know, Weibin. I'm not sure what to do. You can just wait a little bit and maybe adjourn, and starting your next game is reasonable. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Do you know what the? Yeah, what was the score of your? We can just pop over to. Hold on, let me get the flags right. So a game at least that has started between, we haven't watched Marlon Prudencio play. I wouldn't mind doing that for a bit, and then once we see what's going on with Weibin and Chris, we can cut over to that game at some point. It is the runaway winner of the poll so far. So, okay, in this game, we probably saw an exchange. Well, we didn't see an exchange, but we can surmise that given that Marlon went first in the game and has 0, and Michael Quao has bingoed with Garite, that Marlon must have exchanged, and now he's definitely in bingoing shape right now. I would imagine he's going to play something S-hooking Garite's manures. Murinas look okay. I think surname is probably not advisable with all the hooks of that word. Is Marguerite a word? I know it's a name, but is that actually a valid Scrabble word? Oh, please, please come up when I define you. Yes! Wow, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. So Garite has a 3-letter extension that Ed has pointed out there. Oglehat. Sorry, I have to learn. All of you are my friends. It's very difficult referring to you as your Twitch names and not your real names. But I'll do my best to be a professional broadcaster guy. All right, let's get the poll out of here. You guys all wait in. Go back to this part that lets you see the news. Oh, I don't have unfortunately, I have no Marlon or Benji commands, but I can add them at some point if anybody has suggestions of what those should be. So, all right. So, yes, this is, oh, by the way, it's also not round 1. That's one of the things I forgot last week, but I'm remembering now. Where is it? Current round. There we go. This is actually round 3. Adam Logan doxing himself in the chat. Nice to see you, Adam. Okay. Oh, okay. I guess Chris is back. Let me just see what's happening in this game. All right. So this game is almost over, actually. So as soon as you can see, Weibin is he hasn't won yet, but I think odds of him winning are very high. So just for the sake of getting this score in, I will have this as a win. And if Weibin does something bad, then oh no, shame on him. And let me make sure I have that. So wow, okay, so it looks like 2 straight 4-1 wins are about to occur. So strong bounce back effort so far for Singapore. All right, let's see. Go back to this game while we wait. Okay, wow. So Manures was played by Marlon, and then Kino came down for Michael, and Equality quickly comes back down. Well, not sure how quickly, but Equality comes down for Marlon, and he has bingoed twice after potentially exchanging to start the game. So that's definitely good start. Let's see this. So only one vowel for Michael. This area looks kind of nice. Definitely something like ditch or dict in that spot. Looks like it will score quite well. Starting here. Oh wait, no, that doesn't. NOC is not a word, so it has to be this. That looks like a nice idea, and there it comes. Chris logged on for one play. No, I saw that he was to set up for an unblockable. So he set up unblockable out bingos, and then he just logged off. So he must be having internet issues, unfortunately. That's too bad. Yeah, I think you were up by enough that you should be able to outrun anything he has, I would think. That was my impression of that game situation really quickly. So, okay, anyway, we'll try to figure out what's happening with that. Again, it's totally not Weibin's fault that he's kind of delayed getting to his next round matchup. Which, let me just make sure, it was between and Charles, yeah. So, nice play there by Marlon of Jowler. I was wondering how he was going to use that J, but he figured out a nice way to do it, and also using his W in the process. So this is not the greatest board, just in terms of where would you put a 7-letter word. Well, now it just got slightly better. But softened is going to be played here. Okay, so I was going to say there's no place to play fondest because there's no good S hooks, but softened will fit through this E at the very least. So I guess the only issue with softened is simply that it puts an S in the triple lane, but that's okay. You can live with that. It's a bingo. You get 50 extra points when you play all your letters, for those that are unaware of that in the chat. So it's definitely a good idea. All right, so yeah, I guess Weibin is going to try to finish this tortured game here. I'm pretty sure Marlon is going to play softened after a little think to imagine how can I avoid putting an S in the triple lane, and the answer is he can't. So we'll cut back to this. I assume he will play softened, but I'm just curious what's going to happen here. Oh, okay. So in this game, this was between Weibin and Chris Plaka. Chris must have played his E to try to set up multiple bingos for himself, which he did successfully do between Neroli's and disenroll. So I wonder, hopefully his internet can bear with him long enough for him to play disenroll. End the game. That's not going to be remotely enough to overcome the 104-point deficit. We just need that. We just need that internet. Come on. Series of tubes. The series of tubes that is the internet need to hold strong for Chris. Oh man. Oh, okay. Maybe he just simply did not see disenroll. And unfortunately, Weibin with 2 eyes, he can go out and just finish the game. So congrats to both players on finishing this game. Weibin can jump right into his next matchup with Charles Tacky Menson, and we will cover that game as requested in the poll. But first, let's just quickly cut back to the game we were watching. Wow, okay, so that's surprising. It looks like Marlon did not spot softened, or, I mean, is it possible that he balked at putting the S in the triple lane? would that have worked out better for him, because the O of softened would have made a Z spot? I mean, I guess it wouldn't have played. There are no Z plays that play, I don't believe. So it looks like probably just a miss. But Marlon with a good start in this game. So hopefully Wei Bin and Charles get going relatively quickly, just so that they don't fall too much further behind their teammates. Yeah, disenroll would have played, but it was completely academic. So, all right, we'll just stick with this game until Charles and Wei Bin start. So yeah, I guess so. Softened would have scored a bunch more. It also would have allowed Czars to go down for a bunch more. So now I actually do not see a great way to deploy the Z outside of, I don't know, what's good to do here. That doesn't look very good. Yeah, it's just kind of tricky. Maybe it's okay to keep the Z. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think narc is correct because of the narco hook. Oh, Fonda, that's right. Oh, wow. Okay, so Fond is especially scary because it takes an A hook in Collins, in addition to the U hook that is a more normal word. So that's kind of scary, I guess, with Fond. So, all right. The game that was requested in the poll has begun. Wow, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Charles slaps Badland down. Very nice. But ozonated. Okay, so a very fireworky start to this game is about to happen if Wei Bin is aware of ozonated. I see the flags are off. All right, I'll get the feature game screen ready to roll. There we go. Okay, so in a little bit, we'll cut back to the other screen. All right, let's really dig into this game now. This was the game that you guys picked in the poll, is what you wanted to see. This is a round 3 game. A couple of the other round 3 games have started. You can see the score right now. Singapore off to a very fast start, 8-2 over Ghana so far in this matchup. Again, these are 25-game matches. There are 5 rounds of 5 games apiece, and the magic number is 13. The teams are racing to get to 13 wins. Whoever gets to that number is the winner of the match. So Singapore definitely a big favorite to win the match right now after a good start in their first 2 rounds. Good morning to Jen. My pleasure. Feeling good this morning. Had an internet snafu, a little bit scary. Maybe half an hour before game time, our entire home internet went down. So that was a bit upsetting. And the last thing that I had seen prior to that happening was Ed's stream struggling mightily with its own internet. So I was hoping for the sake of our streaming coverage that I could fix it in time, and I was able to do that. So I am a hero. I will accept that classification, that word to describe myself. Hero, savior of the stream, any of those. And we also know that snood is the word of the stream. Yeah, I wonder if this is just Wei Bin seeing this word and just saying, "Is this a word?" He's just sitting here debating, do I dare play this? It could just be a word knowledge thing where he has to steel his courage to play it. I would imagine that he sees it and is just thinking hard about whether this word takes a D or not. part of the scary thing about it is, okay, so you can see he's hedged his bets, unfortunately. That's going to hurt after the game. So there's no doubt, given how long it took Weibin to make that play, that he saw ozonated and he ultimately could just not get that confidence level high enough. Instead, he plays zonated. Now, let's see what happens. This I guess we're probably going to see something like a Y play be played here. Otherwise, I would say if Charles hooks the O, then we'll see if Weibin like insta challenges it just because he wasn't sure. It would definitely be a Galaxy Brain level play if Weibin now plays the O, setting up his O. Sawari, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the coverage of the Virtual World Cup. Okay, so somewhat punished for his indecision, and he plays Rovin. Okay, so now we're not going to see the ozonated hook be played at any point, and we're not going to know how that would have gone down. But after the game, I'm sure that Weibin will hop into the chat and let us know what he was thinking there. I have no doubt that he saw the word and just couldn't pull the trigger. Ganesh Mahendranathan. The Malaysia match was before this one. I'll just cut right back to the this broadcast, so you can see that the match that I'm broadcasting here is the third one on the list of Singapore versus Ghana. The Malaysia versus Thailand match has already completed. It was slated to be covered at a different channel by Ed Oculitz, and he had some internet issues, and hopefully we can preserve some of that for posterity. But I think we were told that Malaysia clinched that match. I believe Malaysia came out on top. Somebody posted that they were one game ahead or something. Maybe they won 13-12. So I'll try to, let me see if I can find where that was said. But yeah, that game. Those games may yet be complete. Oh, is it still happening? Okay, sorry. Yeah, that makes sense because it was only an hour before, and we're in round 3, so they're probably winding down their round 5. Okay, Malaysia. Okay, it's still happening, but Malaysia clinched, and Darren Koo with a 4-0 record. Nicely done to Darren. Really strong player. As I said last week when I did cover that match, Darren destroyed me at the Alchemist Cup when the two of us played. Okay, so Charles played Tat from kind of a rack with 3 Ts, unpromising rack, which maybe will turn into a good bingo rack. But Weibin definitely has a bingo rack here. The only question is which of the many, many, many bingos that are available will he pick? So there are bingos with an S here, or rather just the one that I'm seeing of Arshin he can play. That would be a reasonable option, but there should be plenty of things with hooks to Tat. Whoops. Just hooks on this line that score nicely as well. So he'll have to decide whether he prefers to take out the S hook on Badland right now, or whether he wants to take out the more flexible hook on Tat, but a hook that he could potentially take out with a scoring play on his next turn if he can avoid a bingo. I'm not sure which I favor. Why don't we... We're not quite into the Quackle zone. Let me see what happens if I go to the feature game now. Oops, I also have the players off. So this is between Weibin and Charles, but actually it's reversed. And the flags are actually there. There we go. Okay, and the Charles number is what? Okay, very good. All right, it's going to look better once Weibin gets a triple digit. I see that little white number. Yeah, Charles Menson. That's right. Not quite. So another long think here. So basically, we can surmise from how long you've had VIP replace him. You've had VIP status for at least a week now, maybe more. All my VIPs, of which I might have been too liberal in handing those out. Okay, Threaten. That was not on my radar of plays that I felt we would see. I thought we would see Arsheen and Badlands, or potentially plays like Earthen. Right? I thought we might see Earthen. Well, the letters are gone, but maybe something here with Tath, right? You could have imagined. But Threaten looks like maybe the most defensive option of all, in the sense that it creates a board where really only S hooks are particularly scary. The Tat, this area is now almost impossible to fit anything underneath. So this, he's walled off this area to bingos pretty well. So it's just the Threatens and Badlands hooks that are the scariest after Threaten. I mean, you can still hit plenty of things. You could hit to the N and D or E. But I'm intrigued by that choice. It's not clear to me necessarily that it was a miss of the other stuff. And okay, so what did Charles have? He had something, I think after Tat he left AIRT and he drew CIO. So once again, not the best draw. Let's see. He could play. So Tat, in addition to the H and E and everything else, it does take a T hook, so he could play Coati here for a pretty good score. He does play Carotid, which I just saw suggested. That's it scores 18, which is a little bit low. That is normally I would say Carotid is a mistake, but it just blocked Quavered. It did just block Quavered, which, there's no way that Charles could have known that. Even if he were not, this is just a joke, even if he were watching the stream, ISC doesn't show you that information. It only shows you the rack of who's on turn. So that was a very prescient block of a bingo there to the D by Charles, but still a pretty good Q play available for Weibin with Quena there. All right, let me catch up here. So Carotid and then Quaver. Yeah, Quena looks like clearly the best play there. So now I would think that Charles will bingo here. He has a couple available to him. Let's see. We can just let Quackle reveal it. I have that feature now. So you see the two bingos available. Mortises and Cumius, the Collins only word. So both through the letters of Carotid that he just set up. Both put letters in the triple lane. You can see that one scores a bit better than the other and prevents and uses up this double letter score in the triple lane. So I think if he spots Mortises, I think that would be the play we want him to play. And that will give him a narrow lead. So depending on what Weibin draws, now you can see if, so let's say Charles finds his bingo and Weibin doesn't have anything good and has to play through the triple lane or down through this. The game is going to sort of revolve into a race to S hook Quenas. Basically, it's easy to imagine a bingo going down here and then Weibin not having an S, and if Charles were to draw one, he could be in really good shape. I guess it's also worth mentioning that Rovin is just sitting here with both P's unseen, so there is that. Oops, looks like Charles just blipped out off of ISC, so hopefully we'll get him back. I wonder, man, this is just the Weibin curse, Weibin's opponents. I don't know. Do we think that's a coincidence? Hello, world. We're trying. Okay, I think we are back. Yeah, a lot of internet issues today. I just noticed all of a sudden that I disconnected from ISC right after I had suggested that Weibin was affecting his opponents somehow. Thank you to King Bob for the follow. Appreciate that. Yeah, hopefully we can stabilize. I mean, things were absolutely clear sailing for me until just a moment ago, where I had some kind of a spike. So I'm not sure what happened, but hopefully it can go right back to being nice and smooth. Unfortunately for Weibin, no such luck. In terms of his opponent, Charles is not there. Oh, yeah, I guess not. Is this game still happening here? Oh, wow. Okay. So we had left off with this game a little ways in. It looks like, sorry, let me cut back to this screen so we can actually see who's playing. And let me get the flags correct again. So this is a game that we had watched the start of between Marlon Prudencio and Michael Quao, and it looks like Marlon is going to win. Not sure how things unfolded beyond that. Looks like not a lot of bingos. Kind of an, if you remember, Fond was played instead of softened, and then Michael played Car, and that looks like it was extended to Carrot. That's pretty nice. Define money. That difficult to define word. Yes. But it looks like potentially Michael got a bingo down after a bunch of fishes, but it may not have been enough just because Marlon continued to score too well. So it looks like Marlon's going to get this win. All right, back to this game. Okay, so that's probably going to be... Oh yeah, Tolman looks like it might have played there. Okay, so Mortises. We do see Mortises be played. That's what we had hoped to see. And oh, upriver, there it was. So that's amazing, 101 points. So before I disconnected, I mentioned that those P hooks to Proven are just sitting there, and Weibin drew a pretty heavy hitting one right there. So very, very nice play of upriver and Proven for 101 points. That is not what Charles wanted to see after getting his own bingo down. But he is going to bingo back. He's got plenty of options here to bingo back. Ranges, ungears. Yeah, he had plenty of plays to make there. So very back and forth with players trading bingos. That used up one of the last 3 S's, and Weibin drew the other 2. So he can now, the Quena's spot, given that he's drawn 2 S's out of the bag after his bingo of upriver, he can be very patient with getting a word down there. He can decide to I don't know, well, here's an interesting question, right? Should he just play something like Figs here? Even though it's only 24, he can definitely get more points than that here. I guess maybe I would favor that just because is it really that likely that Charles plays something in this area that blocks Quenas? It's tricky. If he just plays Fog for 23, he keeps an even better leave and then incentivizes Charles to play to this S if he can. And then the Quenas plays, when you hit them after that play, never get blocked. I don't know. It's tricky. Yeah, so obviously the issue with... Oh, sorry. Yeah, I turned the flags up and down. Oh, wait, no. The flags are correct here. This was the feature game. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, just issues with players disconnecting constantly, and with myself disconnecting. So I can't really complain. But this is an interesting move. I think there is some benefit to leaving that S open. I am unaware of any issues with Cloudflare yesterday, so maybe that's it. That's a pretty big player to be having issues. So that would certainly make sense. But hopefully it stays nice and stable for the remainder of this. Yeah, Quenna's plays do give counterplay. I just think that I'm just liking the playing not to the S, inducing a play to the S, and then the odds of getting the Quenna's play are so high. I with a leave of semis. But I do agree that I think the normal play is just to block this. I don't really have a problem with that. So just noting the time that Weibin is certainly a significant amount lower than Charles. Unfortunately, probably a lot of that was debating ozonated. And then a fair bit was going through all the options on threaten. So one could easily imagine a situation where Weibin draws the second blank and does not have enough time to iterate through all of the letters of the alphabet. So he does play fog. That's interesting. That was a very tempting play to me. I totally get why you would want to cover that S and just not leave it, but the odds of hitting that S after a 7-tile draw out of the bag are not great. And I think we will be apt to see something through the S, and if Weibin hits a Quenna's play, that's pretty much exactly how I would have hoped things would turn out after a play like Fog. Whether or not it's, I don't know. It's tricky. I mean, part of the issue is that Weibin was down. He's sort of in this intermediate phase where they're like splitting who has the lead after these bingos. Eventually, they're going to stop bingoing and start scoring like 30 points per turn again, roughly. And when that happens, the two of them are going to be trading the lead. So it seems like getting the next bingo down is really important. So I sort of like Fog from that perspective. I do not feel super confident of that. I can easily imagine any dissent being well-founded of wanting to play Figs or something through the S. Don't feel very convinced about that. So now Charles's turn is kind of tricky. He doesn't have great plays. Yes, Weigelia would be a great bailout through an A, but none exists. So I think the best play that I can spot through the S is just Wise, which is really uninspiring. So, and there it is. Oh, and okay. So to that really nice leave of semis, Weibin drew BW. Yeah, beswims. You could easily imagine that being a word, but unfortunately, it's not. So, what to do here? I mean, just something like Brew scores really well. The problem with Brew, not that it's a big problem, is that there are not a lot of E's to come. You'd love to keep your E if you can. There's just this 1 on the bottom of the board here. Let me see if I can see the bottom. There's just the 1 E. But that's probably okay. Just given that, again, you have played a B and W off for 36, leaving SS. So it's always going to be a good bailout for clunky draws just to hit a big Quenas non-bingo play. Should really help Weibin stay ahead. He's going to win a lot of games at this point where no bingos are played for the remainder of the game, which is always nice. Another interesting thing is that both players have had eyes on a couple. So we saw this eye be played. Weibin had an eye when he played Brew, and neither player has been willing to play here, even though there have been pretty high-scoring plays that fit there. So I'm wondering when either player will feel, okay, there we go, right as if on cue. But Sixmo's is going to score a ton. Sixmo's is going to be huge, right? If he sees it, that's going to be a big play. There is an issue with Sixmo's, and that is that it puts an S right here. So that is the best letter to play to in a terminal position, but I think it's probably worth it for whatever score it gets. The pool is kind of clunky. Lig is a little scary, right? The scary thing about Lig is that you did not see the F, the H, the J, the K, the P, the Y. Oh, maybe just XIS. Okay, yeah, good point, guys. Does that score remotely as well? But maybe it's just far better to go up by whatever that amount is. Yeah, good point. Let's see. What's the score difference? The score difference between just XIS and Sixmo's is 25 points. Wow. So he opts for the extra 25 points. And almost, I mean, this rack looks close to a lot of things, but nothing quite hits this S. So basically, in this situation, it's hard to imagine, given that Charles does not have a play that hits this S, what can he do that opens up another threat, right? Because given the score is what it is and Charles can't bingo, all that Weibin has to do is block the S in any way, shape, or form, and he should be fine. So he has to, on the board as currently constituted. So he has to make another threat, which is why I feel like HI or something is probably, something like that is almost forced. But then I guess the issue with that is any play down from the R blocks both of them. Yeah, this is tough. This is tough. Yeah, just simple plays through the R are going to be next to impossible because any play through the R, by hitting this triple, it really prevents any bingos that Charles does have from scoring anything. So it's hard to come up with something here. Brenjam suggesting just buy. Oh, that's okay. That's nice. That's a good idea. So fishing the eye right here in this spot creates a sevens lane. That looks okay. Variation on that theme is played of just G. But the problem also with these one tile fishes is that Weibin can just not go out, right? He can just play Joe and not go out. And that's especially hurtful to Charles. He is going to play, if he sees it, he'll play Haplite, right? So that was good for Weibin because he does block Haplites, and Charles has a second spot to play Haplite and Gip. But neither of those, with two in the bag, it's just going to be a lost cause anyway. With all these good scoring tiles, Weibin's going to hit something good, especially through the E of Haplite when it does get played, if it does. Maybe he's going to try, maybe he knows that that can't win and he'll just play something different. I really don't think bingoing now is likely to ever win. Let's see, let me catch up with this. All right, let's see. Is there any way, anything else that offers any chances? I don't know. Doesn't seem likely. Okay, so basically he has maybe if he's missed Haplate, or he could have said that Haplate never wins, so I need to do something that scores and could potentially induce Weibin to make a mistake. I don't know. I don't think it should be pretty easy for him now to just score. Oh, wow. Weibin actually has, yeah, I see that. Nice job. There is a bingo available. You guys have spotted it already. Ufology. Weibin does not need that play to win. He should be fine in pretty much any scenario where he plays a valid word. Thank you to the Nichelle Eng for the follow. Appreciate that. So yeah, Singapore is, I think I saw that Jeremy said in the chat that, oh, does he have tip-like? Is that a word? Tip-like? I don't like that as a word. Hold on a second. Generate word list. Pit-like. Pit-like. Same difference. Okay, pit-like. Is that a Collins only word? And thank you to Ate8 as well for the follow. Okay, so he has blocked it. So, you know, barring, I'm sure that, you know, Weibin is basically saying, all right, I'm not sure whether pit-like or tip-like is a word, or maybe he does know. I certainly didn't know for sure, but it doesn't hurt to just block both and just win the game. And you, again, you do not have to see ufology to win. So Weibin is going to win this game, and I think, is that true that all five? Wow, impressive, very, very impressive. So while this game finishes up, I think they are officially done. So nicely done to Weibin over Charles there. Nicely played game. All right, let's look here now. We don't need this poll. I think that we can. Wow, so this is clinched after 3 rounds. Is that the fastest clinch yet? I mean, we've got plenty more to go. So we got round 4 streaming just for the lols, just for the fun of it. Feel free to vote for, I guess Sonic Rick. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me restart the poll. Let me restart. Hold on. Stand by. First country to clinch in 3 rounds accidentally voted for 3. So we can start again. Everybody vote again if you want. Re-vote. I just started the poll anew. Wow. So Singapore with a really dominating performance so far. It looks like they're up 13-2. This has to be the first 3-round clinch for sure. Yeah, absolutely in play to better the score of the U.S. against the Philippines. Hubert versus Edwin looks like a pretty good option, and they have only just begun. All right, let's just cut to this, and I'll get the poll back up. Feel free to continue voting. You can see the votes will appear in the little poll. I see the flags are reversed. There we go. All right, and let me just get this ready. And it's Michael Quao. Okay. All right, so looks like Hubert versus, oh, wait a second. Hold on. Did I mess this up? Hubert is playing Michael. Oh, I see. My poll is off. Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. Drat, I clicked the wrong one. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, folks. New poll. New poll. I clicked my wrong one. Please forgive me. Look at the results again. Look at the round 4 streaming matchup again. The one that you guys were voting for of Hubert versus Edwin is not actually happening, but I know Hubert is very popular to watch, so it's possible that he will still win the poll. I apologize, folks. Thank you. please consider. I know we are all Hubert fans, and I am watching this Hubert game. Hubert with a bingo on his rack that doesn't look like it plays, does it? Co-equal? I don't think. That's annoying. That's annoying for him to go second with that rack. Thanks for voting again, everybody. Sorry for messing that up. Wow, interesting. So Qua is played by Hubert. He had that nice bingo rack. He does not have another A. Just getting all my stuff ready for this game. So is that really, yeah, I guess there wasn't probably that much better than Qua available. He could have potentially kept QU together, which doesn't make a ton of sense. But he has lucked into Michael not having a great way to handle the Qua hook. I guess he'll be able to play UG plays. Is there any, could he just play Hugh? That's not probably worth doing. Okay, so it does look like Hubert is doing well on the poll anyway. No surprise. We like watching Hubert play. We like seeing him play crazy words, which he knows. We'll get the poll off for now, but I will use it later in case we want to cut to other games. Okay, so Michael plays Buell, which that looks pretty good, I guess. As good as anything. I mean, I wasn't seeing anything better than Hugh, which left BKLS, which certainly that Buell leaving EKS at least has a little better balance, even if it's not particularly great of a leave to write home about. Yeah, Gotches looks like it could be played here to Uggs. So we just hit right here if he spots it. So anyway, yeah, for those just joining, this has been a dominating performance by Singapore on the heels of a disappointing loss in week 1. They have basically fired a shot across the bow and said, we are a #1 seed here. Because, I mean, Ghana fought Canada to a near stalemate last week with a 13-12 Canadian victory over Ghana, but this is 13-2 through round 3. This has to be the only clinch that any team has achieved by round 3, by the end of round 3. That's the fastest for sure. A couple teams have clinched victory in round 4. That's definitely happened a bunch of times, but not 3. That's really, really impressive. So basically, the two teams are continuing to play for overall round wins and spread and other tiebreakers, but this is definitely decided, and Singapore has come back in a big way from a difficult loss in week 1. Yeah, good statistic there of Hubert accounting for 50% of Singapore's wins in round 1, and now 50% of their losses simply by losing 1 time. Okay, so he's found the bingo of Gotches. That was his only bingo available there, so that's good idea. Obviously, often it is a good idea to play your only bingo when you only have 1. That's not, I didn't really mean good idea, just good eye to find that is more what I meant to say. Tankless, nice play by Michael, and Michael answers right back, that's his only bingo. So that is a valid word, and both players finding the bingos on their rack. So Michael slightly ahead. A G is just sitting wide open in the triple lane, but very strange, imbalanced power tile letters for Hubert here. He's probably doesn't mind seeing the J and the Z, but having WU with them together is a little bit awkward. I guess he could just play Ahi, though. That seems like a really high scoring play. You don't like to leave WU together, but oh, looks like Hubert decided he's going to pay an extra 5 points just to make sure that tankless is in fact valid, and it is. So yeah, I would think after looking around a little bit through the different letters on the board, maybe try to play something longer through the G. But eventually, yeah, as I thought, he would hit upon that play of Ahi, which, as I said, you don't want to leave WU, but scoring 50 points is worth it. Very, very quickly, Michael plays Ob underneath. I actually didn't even see what he had necessarily. Yeah, Juga, I suppose, was an option, but 50 is a lot, so. And Hubert plays Sword to the other triple. That looks nice. The great thing about Sword is that it sets Z up in a pretty nice way to play. Even just ZO on his next turn is going to score a ton. But a promising looking rack here for Michael. Does he have anything that plays, though? Wow, it looks like he has... Oh, Ahi also set the Z up. That's true. Good point, yeah. I think I don't mind Sword, though. Just to... I mean, playing the Z there on that turn would have kept WU behind again, whereas playing Sword scores roughly as well, and you don't keep WU. You at least have some upside, not keeping those two tiles together. So I think I kind of like Sword, if only because it also guarantees that your Z will score 40 plus on the next turn. So I think there is some merit to just playing Sword there. Yeah, it looks like no bingos play for Michael, which is unfortunate, but he should have options to do some scoring here, I would think, if he wants. Is there really no... I'm trying to look for plays like this. Is there anything better than just Nerl or Neral? Maybe that's worth doing for 28. I don't know. Maybe you want to stay closer. Maybe you want to stay a little closer to bingoing here. I'm not sure. Let's have a look at the... hold on. Let me get these players correctly. It's Hubert versus Michael Quao. Okay, there we go. Now we're on this screen, so I can actually have a look at these plays. Now, let's look. What did Quaggle think about that? Does it want to play Neral or play short? Let me just make sure I have the play of Odd in there. Oh, Odd is there. It's just a little bit lower down. It's not in the top 5 choices. What is so interesting about Dona and Aqua? Is that I guess it's just doesn't block that much bingo real estate on the board. I don't know. Not sure. I guess Dona is just kind of an intermediate play between keeping a good leave and scoring. Right? These plays score a lot, but don't keep as good of a leave. Maybe Law was the way to go here. Anyway, let's just make sure we get back to the actual game. Okay, so Odd was played, and then Zoo immediately played by Hubert. And another kind of bingo-y rack that doesn't seem to play for Michael. And I guess that's sort of an issue with Odd, is that it is a fish that doesn't really open anything new because the ED hook is so kind of conclusive, especially with both H's played. You can't even luck into an H draw. So the problem with that is that by, stopping any action from here, you prevent some of these nice hooks that you had from playing. Okay, but he has reopened the board by playing Wrap, which looks like a good idea. So now the issue of ED sort of blocking this part of the board has been undone by all the ways that you can fit with Hope. You can play much more easily under here when you get an E. So Hubert has kind of a clunky rack now. He's drawn UUY. Actually, he has a great play leaving UU of Allay right here. He can just play this for a ton. That scores 39. It leaves UU, but might be okay just to go up by that much. Yes, Guayul. That's a fun play through a G with these letters. The G's that are on the board are obscured though. So yes, we had received word earlier that Malaysia had clinched their matchup, and it's definitely going to be Singapore on top in this matchup. So let me see. I'll get to the standings, and let's see. Malaysia played Thailand. And Singapore played Ghana. There it is, 39 points. Very nice. All right, we'll get to that later, I guess. I'll stay on this screen for now. Darren and Ganesh got 9 of the wins. Yeah, those are two really, really strong players to head up your team. I mean, Ganesh is the strongest, and Darren is really good in his own right. So when those two guys are basically drawing anything remotely even, they're probably going to convert a lot of games. So nicely done to Malaysia on rebounding from week 1's loss. They put themselves in position to win next weekend, and they should make the bracket of 8. We started with 16 teams, and it's going to winnow down to 8 after next weekend. And those teams are going to enter a bracket. I have this bracket all ready. Nobody's in it yet, but obviously the teams that emerge from the pool play standings, 2 from each group, will make it into the bracket. Yeah, that was an interesting play of just the N, just fishing the N. That seems like too fishy. I don't know. Just because you are getting into that situation where your eventual bingo just does not do enough to deliver the lead to you. So Hubert is up by a fair margin here. And it looks like Hubert just blocked Inlander through the N. So a timely play of Umu there. Did that block everything that's available? Might have. Yes, Pakistan, by virtue of their 2 wins, they've already defeated the most difficult teams in their group as well by seeding alone. They've defeated the number 1 and number 2 seeds in their group, Australia and Nigeria. So Pakistan has put themselves into really strong position to basically be a high seed in the bracket. Although we're still, I think, working on how the bracket is going to be seeded. But yeah, they have clinched already. I don't think there's any way that Pakistan cannot make it in. Okay, so Michael plays Ad and Azo. So that's a little bit better than An, just if you're trying to preserve some opportunity of staying in touch with scoring. Yes, they could theoretically lose big to South Africa and lose on spread. That's a good point. So it could happen, but it doesn't seem likely after 2 very impressive wins against higher seeded teams in their group. Okay, so Michael plays Ad. I guess what I'm wondering about that is I guess he doesn't have any other hooks to Hope. he still can hit this, you know, line down here, but that's going to give counterplay. So I'm a little worried from Michael's perspective about, oh, he did keep an R. Okay. Oh, right. Inlander. Right. So he left, he played AD leaving liner. Okay. So he has some hope to hit a hoper. Really, the bingo that he wants, yeah, that spot that Hubert just played in was where he wanted to play. A bingo right here. Now that's no longer possible. Another option that Hubert had, if he wanted to, I mean, that looks like a better idea from a defensive perspective, but he did have Agio in this spot right here as well to score a fair number of points. But Gur in that spot where Hubert did play, it left him vulnerable to racks like this, though, I guess. That's the issue with it. But so Hubert played Gur on the previous turn to block off the bingo lanes on the bottom left part of the board, which is a very valuable objective. But in so doing, he left AILO. But I think he's up by enough that he doesn't care about that. I don't think it really matters, as he plays Ilya there for a solid score. Yeah, I mean, the board is just constricting more and more. It's going to be really tricky for Michael to both open space and preserve his chances of getting a bingo and also score enough. I guess now he can play something to the S with Azon, like Sohn or something in that spot. But this is looking like Hubert is in firm command of this game. It's hard to imagine, even if Michael hits his bingo, he'll probably need a couple of them in a row. And the board is getting tight. So, yeah, good point. I think that's true. Some of these plays, yeah, I would lean towards it's definitely possible to be frustrated at having these bingo-y racks that just don't fit on the board. A lot of that, again, is because of, you know, Hubert. Right, Hubert has played cleverly. Umu was a good play. Gur was a good play. He's blocked lanes pretty effectively. So it's not like it's just happening randomly that he's drawing bingo racks that don't fit. But it is frustrating. We've all been in that situation where you have a game where turn after turn you have a rack that on a really open board would bingo all over the place and just doesn't fit on the current board. So we do see Sohn be played. That looks pretty good. Scores 29 and achieves good balance. I guess the only issue with it is that this was a kind of a lower level of usefulness line that would have allowed sevens to play, starting with a vowel, and now they don't. Invoice, played by Hubert. I think that left an F. So that's a nice idea, just to sort of get a little closer to the end of the game and block the I that he just created. It seems as good as anything. I guess he could have. I think I'm missing a play in my quackling, but that's all right. Oh, I know what I'm missing. Well, it's not a big deal. Okay. So Twinier unplayable. It just continues to be frustrating. Yeah, hard to see what options are really available here to Michael to score and continue. I guess he could play a new and try to draw Wintrier or something. It's not, no option is going to feel great right now. You could play Wive and try to draw Swive. Yeah, suggestion on the turn, on the invoice turn of maybe Vinnick. That could be fine. Yeah, that seems reasonable. So you're talking about Vinnick right here, just not offering any. Yeah, so I guess if there were an issue with invoice over Vinnick, it's simply that you can now make plays like this that are difficult to block without the D, but he does have the D for invoiced. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have a play. Is Wowie good? Yeah, not with IE, unfortunately. that would definitely have opened a good amount of space in the lower part of the board. Just a couple IE lanes to hit. So Hubert plays Fent. That's a nice idea. He kept the D for invoiced. He also kept the second blank and the X. So he's got no shortage of ways to continue piling on points. If he draws any kind of vowels, he'll be playing something with invoiced on the next turn. And if he gets particularly lucky, maybe he'll play something with the X in it too. Well, actually, given the pool, I don't think there's very many things. Like, he would have had to have drawn axed AXED if he's going to play with invoice there. So probably a 2-turn sequence of an X play somewhere and then an invoiced play, and he's already up by 100. So even the most aggressive fish by Michael, it looks like it will fall short. So yeah, this is looking grim for Michael. But again, obviously the match, incredibly, is already decided in favor of Singapore. We're just playing for, basically, I think Singapore is going to still be playing hard because they would like to set the record for individual match wins, which they are absolutely capable of doing. Let me just cut back to this broadcast so you can see the week 1 results. The record so far is 18, which was set by the U.S. team last week against the Philippines, and Singapore has 10. All they have to do is go 5-5 in their last 2 rounds, and they're going to tie that record, which I think, depending on how they're doing this round, they may already be there if they swept this round, but that's not particularly likely. But I think their odds of breaking that 18 set by the U.S. are pretty good. So let's see. Okay, so some games are in question, but they have 2 rounds to get 5. So the odds are solid that they will get there. So Michael having a deep think on this turn. I think he can just look at the pool and realize that it's going to be hard. He's going to have to draw all the good stuff. He basically would have needed to bingo now and draw something really good. Okay, interesting idea. So Michael blocks the D hook on invoiced, potentially realizing that if he has any, oh, it's okay, I'm going to allow this. If he has any hope to stay close enough, that he may need to block that D hook on invoiced, because he's not likely to benefit a great deal if he draws the D. There's just not enough tiles left in the bag for him to both bingo and get a good D play with invoiced. Suggestion of Telia. Oh yes, through the L of Malt. Right, that would have been a nice scoring play. Yes, it's just we're wary of the spelling. But yes, topical. Yeah, let's see. What can Hubert do here? Both players are a little low on their clocks. He opts to play Vex, which makes some degree of sense just because you don't want to have the V and the X on your rack if it gets to an endgame situation where Michael bingos. Wow, okay, Hubert's actually drawn the blank after all that. So I think this situation might call for Hubert to just fish an eye, and I don't know where to do that. Maybe he needs to just play the blockiest thing he can, actually. Maybe that's better. The pool's kind of... Well, what is even in there? Ristras? Santiers? Yeah, there's definitely stuff that it would behoove him to block if he wanted to, but it doesn't matter. Looks like Michael has just continued to not quite hit. I don't think he has anything here. So I wonder if Did Hubert just draw an S? That would be amazing. So Hubert, yeah, it looks like Hubert drew an S. For some reason, I just assumed that Michael had the other one, but he didn't. So Spained, yeah. Guaranteed Spained no matter what is in the pool, which will play with Hopers. So if Michael wants to reduce spread, he has to block that because amazingly, Hubert will have that every time. So he has technically blocked Spain, but I'm pretty sure he must have given something else back with this. Sprained at the very least, or the R of marries. So maybe there's something better through the I. I'm still looking. Upraised. Yeah, okay, so this is definitely decided in Hubert's favor. He plays Drapius to go out. He wins by a lot. Request to go to the Weibin game. Oh, wow. Yikes. Super close. Okay, so we are joining this game in the middle. I will get the flags corrected. So no, there was really no time for us to do an honest search for whether there were outs anywhere that would have potentially allowed Z to jump ahead. It looks like a 5-point win. I wonder if there were any challenges in this game. Just real quick, if we go through this game, a 5-point game, were there any challenges? No, looks like none. Okay, so let's see what happened in these rounds. So we know that, and we're going here, we know that Hubert won his game against Michael. And it looks like Weibin just snuck ahead of Ezekiel. And is this game still... Marlon is still playing. He is slightly trailing Chris Plaka. And... oh, and John Rong is already onto his final round game. We could catch up with them there, but it looks like he defeated Charles. So there's another win. And what about Jeremy? Jeremy, looking for him. There he is. He's probably in the chat. Looks like he beat Edwin. Wow. Okay, so extremely close. Why don't we go ahead and just look at this game here. This previous round game. This is right down to the... This is basically... this decides whether or not Singapore is going to tie the US with 1 round to go. If Marlon can come back in this game, it's 17-2 right now. My gosh, this is a very strong statement from Singapore. All right, Chris continuing to have bad problems with his internet. So, all right, let me see. Let me go to the matchup coverage and just get the poll up for round 5 and see what people want to see in round 5. I'm making sure that this is the correct poll. All right, feel free to vote for what you'd like to see. I will probably immediately cut to John Rong versus Ezekiel because they are playing right now. But everybody can feel free to let me know what you'd like to see. Again, this is pretty tight. I think this match is going to be interesting going forward because it could represent the single high win total for any team. Singapore really having an amazing day today against Ghana. So, I mean, yeah, if you were here from the beginning of the show, all right, looks like a pretty tight poll. Nobody pulling that far ahead. So continued votes will definitely be helpful. But yeah, if we go to today's matchup and I just show you guys, like, this was last week for Singapore against Kenya. They drew only 19 blanks. If that number reversed in the other direction, then you could imagine their average score and average opponent score were among the best of any team in week one. So all of these metrics for Singapore on the left indicated that they were ready to break out, assuming that, you know, luck and blanks and a couple of flukes that occurred would just go back in their favor today, and that is definitely exactly what has occurred. Okay, so yeah, Weibin, was that delay at the beginning on the zonated turn? Was that you just staring at ozonated and not being sure? That's what we thought. We thought it was just a matter of, I'm staring at this word, I just don't know. And eventually you had to play the word you were sure of. But it just took a while to come down. So we felt that debate happening internally for you. So yeah, that was fine. I mean, yeah, it's, you know, it never feels good to make whatever 60-point equity mistakes, but it's, you know, you had to make a decision based on your confidence level in the word. We've all been there. We've all been in that situation, and the best thing you can do is when you don't, you know, when you get into those situations where you can't ascertain whether a word is good or not, you can't kick yourself over that. You have to continue to make good decisions on the turns where you do know all the words that are relevant, which you did. All right. Very quickly, just looking at this game, very quickly we saw Ezekiel fish off UN and just get hammered with Zisti for 52. Ezekiel has Lantern, which doesn't look like it plays anywhere. So yeah, we can check back in. I guess I don't know what's happening with Chris. His internet is problematic today, but we do still have one. I will check. I will adjust the round number, of course. This is actually round 5. We do have one outstanding result from round 4 between Marlon Prudencio and Chris Plaka. That game, Chris had a small lead in that game. So it's possible that Singapore only needs 2 wins to break the US record of 18 set in week 1 for most individual wins in a round. Brankier, nice. I think that's a word. I would probably challenge that, but I think it is a word. Oh, Barn Lake. Wait, Brankier? Are we sure about that? My initial thought was that it is. Yeah, okay. Good job. Nice play by John Wrong. That is a valid word. Yes, intranet comes back down. He has drawn BMM. No R. Actually, that's kind of frustrating for him because intranet just blocked Marimbas through the R of Brankier. But he'll be all right. He'll figure out something good to do with these scoring tiles, I'm sure. Iterate. Oh no. Yeah, tough day for internet. I did have a snafu earlier, but it seems to have been a very isolated incident, thankfully. I'm glad that it was just the one disconnection and we're back. Yeah, what to do here? There must be some good places to score points. Yeah, Weibin, absolutely link your Discord. It's totally cool. I've been on there finally at long last exploring. It's really, really great for all fans of Scrabble streaming and a bunch of other really, really cool features, fun features. So John Rong plays Mabe for 24. Okay, the Marlon and Chris match is back. Let's just cut back to that real quick. Okay, so we are in endgame status here. Chris down to only 15 seconds. Yeah, I totally recommend everybody to, if you like Scrabble streaming and don't want to miss any streams, you can join that Discord and be automatically notified whenever a stream goes live. And there's a ton of other cool features on there. I want to play some of the games that are available. I haven't done that yet, so it's definitely a very, very cool idea for aggregating a lot of interest in Scrabble streaming in one easy place. All right, so this game is kind of rapidly running to its conclusion, which is going to result in Chris securing the only win for Ghana this round. So you can see that, man, dominating performance so far today by Singapore. So they are knocking on the door of blasting right past the USA's record from week 1. So we will cut back to the game that we had been watching, which, wow, a beautiful play. Looks like it was just made there. Domains, look at that. I'm sad that we missed that. You can see the last play on the board right here. Looks like it played with a ton of overlaps and S-hooking feek there. Must have been a really, really nice play. 53 points. Let me get the poll out so you guys can see. Bag it. That's kind of a nice, that's a fun play. And Spyroid goes down. Wow. So John Rong is just piling it on. Beautiful plays back to back of Domains and Spyroid. So this is looks like another Singapore win in the offing here. So I wonder if we can. It looks like other games are in the way too. Yeah, he actually. So he already is. John Rong is already the number 2 seed on this particular team. I'm sure there are other rating systems where he has different rankings, but definitely very strong every time we've seen him. So he is well in command in this game. And let's just see if we can hop to any other games. That I see that Hubert is not currently playing. Weibin said he's waiting for his opponent. Just seems like cursed today in terms of getting his opponents to be on in a timely manner. And Marlon is examining his game, but I guess Jeremy can be watched as much as he's attempted to avoid being streamed. Let's get a little Jeremy Koo action here. Not that we want to, haze him or anything, but we haven't had much Jeremy on the stream because he's been so fastidiously coming in and voting for people that are not himself in between rounds to be on the stream. So again, the score, you're reading that correctly, 17-2. Commiserations to Ghana. I think they just ran into a buzzsaw this week. Singapore losing in week 1 to Kenya in upset fashion. I'm sure that they had every intention of coming out today and just proving that that was a fluke. I showed you all the statistics that indicated how fluky it was. Singapore drew very, very, yeah, it is 17-3. That's correct. I will update that. But Yeah. Singapore, very low blank count in week 1. They had a very high average score and a relatively low opponent score. It just didn't turn out to result in enough wins and reduce the number of losses. So typically in Scrabble, when you score a lot of points and hold your opponents to low scores, that's the formula that you need to win. There's enough luck and weirdness in the game that sometimes odd things happen, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened to Singapore last week. So yeah, definitely showing that their number 1 seed status is well deserved. Okay, so this board is, let's just try to dive into this game now. Jeremy is on turn. I'm sure that he's going to be looking for some play that fits in this spot that stands out as the best scoring area of the board. I'm not seeing anything much better than something like Holon right now. Something could be eluding me. Yeah, not sure. Thank you to Van and Only for the follow. I have an idea who that is. Congratulations today on the Malaysian victory over the team from Thailand, which Thailand, not an easy team. They really put a hurt on the UK team in week 1. So Malaysia rebounding from their loss to India in week 1. I think it's not confirmed yet. I'm definitely hearing that the score of that match was 14-11, Malaysia over Thailand, but we'll try to firm that up and get a result. But this matchup is all Singapore today. They have long since clinched. Singapore was the first team to clinch after only 3 rounds of play with a 13-2 record after that time. Pretty amazing. They played really well, honestly. Not perfectly. We've seen a couple, as Weibin said, he ducked into the stream chat afterwards. He said, I did my typical masterclass of losing 200 equity points on the stream and still winning. But honestly, it was hard to find too much fault with any of the strategic decisions he made. So Jeremy plays Hog. That looks like a nice closed play, and it's not going to prevent Sarnies from going down with Chugs, but it would have prevented a lot of other S-Bingos from playing here, right? Like if Jeremy was worried about the Chugs hook being the most salient threat to him on that board, playing something like Hog is a great way to deal with it, whereas playing like Holon in that spot scores maybe a little better, but it did nothing to address this S-hook here. So he's tried to block it, but I'm pretty sure if Michael thinks of Sarnies, it's going to play here and reopen the board a bit. There it is. Oh, wow. So the first thing I think of with my diseased brain is what you would play with a P on the board with this rack. Does anybody see? As a trivia question, but I'm sure there are definitely plays that now play here, right? Like at the very least, something like Krona plays there. Is there a way to get the K on here? Maybe not. Yeah, Dronklap, that's the word. Nice to see you, Andrew. And obviously I was thinking to congratulate Malaysia based on Van and Only following, but also to you, I congratulate you as well on Malaysia's win today. Yeah, let's see what Jeremy finds. Is there, maybe there's something good here? I don't know, probably not. Anybody see anything significantly better than Krona in this spot here? Dork is all right, I guess. Dork is okay. It just, I suppose the issue with Dork is now a sufficiently open play through here is going to make boards that have a lot of opportunities for bingoing. Krona would have opened some bingo lanes for 8s, but not, the board would have remained very closed off to 7s. There's only one S left, though. It's not a big deal. Suggestion of unkept through the K. That looks quite nice. You could also play 2-peck, right? Isn't that possible? If he wants to make a play, if Michael wants to make a play that might create more action going up this way. Oh, up-tack. Yeah, up-tack. Maybe that's better. That doesn't use the E, at least. So there's definitely some options here through the K that are subtly different depending on what Michael's hope is to open the board or not. Yeah, uptaken. Nice suggestion of peanut bed. Peanut bed to the ED. That's a beautiful find. Okay, uptaken. That's nice. It scores 39. It's not quite as easy. It doesn't really make as good of a lane here as some of the other options did. Like if you're wanting to create a bingo lane in that area, there were better ways to do it. Okay, now this is this rack absolutely calls out to this spot, in my opinion. The score is close enough now that I don't think that Jeremy can really continue to sacrifice points for defense in that hog style that he did. I think he's got to score as much as he can. Something, yeah, I was going to say something like rural looks like a really, really nice thought, nice suggestion by G 1222. Obviously, this spot here also is kind of scary. You could get hit really hard by the wrong consonants there. But either of these two spots right here are likely to be taken one after the other. And the other nice thing about playing here is that you're using 5 tiles and there are 2 blanks to come. So you definitely don't want to look at this rack and say, wow, I'm so close to bingoing. I just need to play like OR off. If you just play OR off, unless you make a really aggressive opening by doing that, you're still not going to be bingoing on your next turn, right? Like let's say you fish off OR here or something. The board is very unhospitable to bingos, and you've only drawn 2 tiles toward the 2 blanks that are unseen. We're more than halfway through the game. So every extra tile you spend with both blanks unseen is really, really valuable. So I'm hoping that Jeremy spots a nice 5-letter play. Okay, loner. That gets the job done. It does use the E up, which prefer not to. So yeah, suggestion of Loran. That might have been a small improvement over loner, just to keep an E over an A. You could easily imagine when we cut back to Jeremy's turn that we're going to see more than one A. If you just look at the bottom of the screen here, you can see there's a ton of A's left. Not so many E's, and E's also aren't that bad to duplicate. So tricky rack for Michael. He does play, okay, alive. That looks like a good idea. All right, as predicted, I said when we cut back to Jeremy, you could easily see more than one A on his rack, and that's exactly what's happened. So had he played off his A on the previous turn, maybe he would still have 2, but that's certainly better than 3. So we saw it coming. So now this is getting touch and go here because Angaria looks great. Yeah, I think Angaria is absolutely what's called for. That looks like a great idea through this N. That is a great idea just because, as Oglehat says, you ditch them all in one go. You even keep the E, you keep your best vowel, and you play 6 tiles to get one of those blanks, which you really want. Really, really want one of those 2. So I love that play. I hope he spots it. That is absolutely what's called for. There it is. Well done. So we like that play. That's a very nice way of reversing the very minor tweak that we would make to loner. So he's up by a little bit. Fortunately for Jeremy, Michael has not drawn anything super wieldy for scoring. He only has the one vowel, in fact. He plays crib. The blanks proving extremely elusive here. Where are they? When will they come out? When are they going to emerge? Beautiful. Great play. He played it fast, too. Barfy for Jeremy is really, really nice. I almost did exclamation point Barfy, which I do not have as a command, but I remembered to do define. Okay, so Gator'd is possibly going to come down through the E of Alive. That's going to give Michael a great chance at this, because even though Barfy was an awesome play, it's possible that Jeremy still managed to not draw the blanks. And if Michael can just play Gator'd here and play all 7 of his letters, if Jeremy did manage to miss the blanks, his odds of getting one or both are really good. So it's really coming down to that. Other than, so the pool is a mix right now of decent bingo letters and whammies, right? So the Q obviously stands out as the scariest thing. There are no U's left, and there's just not a lot of, I mean, there is just this spot right here for the Q, but it's, and I suppose a couple other spots for it, but nothing particularly great, and it's almost certainly going to mean that anyone that draws the Q is definitely not, their chances of bingoing on that turn are 0, probably, or near 0. So in addition to the Q, there's VWWY in that area, which is definitely, those are not great for bingo chances, but then all the rest of the tiles, all the rest are pretty good. So it's a very polarized mix of tiles that are either really bad for bingoing, or if you can dodge them all, your chances of bingoing are very good. Okay, there's Gator'd. So amazingly, Jeremy's drawn Enocite, and Novides was just blocked through the V of Alive. But it's possible that I'm looking, Noiliest, Ediolans, I think it's possible that he has managed to draw a nice looking bingo rack, but the board is just not good for bingos. And he will have to, this is a very difficult situation now. If he really doesn't have anything, which I don't think he does, what does he do with all these low pointers? He's trailing by a decent amount. 17. It's going to be hard for him to make up that gap here. And looking at the pool, it's a reasonable expectation that Michael probably has a blank. And at least one. Boy, this is a tricky one. What to do here? It's so difficult to make any space. So obviously the O and N are helpful because they play in this spot here, but that still isn't a wonderful spot for actually getting stuff down. Boy, yeah, look at this pool too. Oh my God, great point. Look at the consonant vowel ratio here of the unseen tiles. There's only E, I, O among vowels. Unfortunately, my markings aren't really visible. But yeah, now you can see. And then for consonants, it's everything else. Everything else. Incredible. So you can see way, way more consonants. I wonder if it makes sense to even just fish an I somewhere. The problem is it's getting blocked every time. I don't see how you can do it in a productive way. I'm imagining like, well, what if you do this? Well, then he just plays here if he has even any kind of word. I'm just trying to see what happens. Oh, wow, he does play that. Oh my god. He just plays... Okay, so I had that on the board, and he ended up actually playing it. The problem that I was running into is how many things can you draw that actually play here when you fit them, when you draw them, I should say. And obviously a blank or an M will do it because you can play Mestino, right? You could play something like Mestino and OU right here. That would work. Other than that, it's not a ton. So the amazing thing about this is it's actually very difficult for Michael to block this in a productive way. Anything that he does to block this spot is, first of all, it's going to keep the Q. I mean, I guess he can just play vid or something. Idle. Vild. I really don't know what's... I mean, maybe Vild is what's called for. I just don't know. That makes a stivvy hook. Stivvy would be really damaging after that. Yeah, the Q just is, that's likely to sit forever. Wow. I am very confused by that play. Vly. Doing nothing to address the really easy to hit lane. I'm very confused by that. I mean, that just looks like a miscalculation of what to block, right? So after LI, you definitely need to realize that there are way, way more things that hook in that spot. So Jeremy drew a W, and that just would not have played after any reasonable play that hooks anything with LI would not have played. So I definitely would have liked to see an attempt to block this area, even if it did use up a vowel. I think you just have to hold on. You just have to hold on. I totally get the issue with the pool that there were really, really few vowels remaining. Totally get that. But basically, you just got to hold on to your lead, right? Like, there are so many situations just like that where Jeremy has a bingo in that spot, which you can block and continue your chances of winning the game, where now they're just not very good. Well, now the bag is empty, so they can officially be considered to be zero, I think. Yeah, I mean, I do get it from that perspective of wanting to hold on to your eye at all costs. But that was a surprising move to me. Okay, so what can Michael do here to give himself a chance? So we're seeing... oh, yeah, that's a great point. Penmen. So QPR fan pointing out Penmen in this spot is going to score a ton. Yeah, just this. I think you got to start out with just the Q now. Maybe, unless you can. Is there any way to... I mean, if you do this, that QD does not help you at all. There's really no hope. Oh yeah, the Q here. Why did I not see that? I haven't mentioned that this whole time. Oh duh. Okay, so that's all right. I'm not giving Michael anywhere near enough credit. Okay, so that's totally a new... I don't know how I missed that, but of course that is part of why he played Vly. It's a big part of why he played Vly, is that he's keeping the eye to play his Q there. So he's doing his best to block and keep the eye. Totally get it. That makes a ton of sense. I guess my question is, did he have a blank already? What was his rack on that turn when he played Vly? He had VLY like Q, I, D. I don't know if he had a blank. Yeah, so that's really scary to use your eye up when you have that play just sitting there. But I guess my question then would be, why, if you're not going to block, right? Like if, oops, excuse me, if you're not going to block this lane now, why not just play QI, right? Because that just creates better situations for you. All right, that required more analysis than I gave it. Sorry, I definitely, the QI spot in the corner is a really critical nuance that without mentioning that, you can't really grasp the position. So my bad on that. Jeremy plays women for 36. Where will this, yeah, just demote? Is this it? That will not be enough. Or that, or demoted. But I guess we have to look at, does PT go out in 2 places? Wept and Pit? Yes, it does. In addition to, I'm sure, some other stuff. So there's no point in slow playing it. Michael should go out for as many points as he can. Okay, so that was a very interesting, that Vly position, I think, warrants a little extra analysis. So when this game finishes up, I will try to make that happen really quickly. Hold on. So we can look at it. I'm just very curious. Suggestion of Vomito. That's, I think only Vomit would be available. Yeah, that's actually a D. Not an O. Vly would have played at K1. Oh, very, very nice. Yeah, look at that. Great idea. Same letters, much blockier. Although it's, yeah, I mean, that looks almost completely conclusively blocks that lane. The cost is that it puts a V in the triple lane, but I mean, so what? You can live with that much more so than the bingos going down there. Especially with Chi in reserve. So yeah, maybe that's the idea. Okay, there's demoted. Let me just real quick. I really am curious about that play. So let's look at the history. Yeah, that's a tough one. Really, really close. Great win by Jeremy there. All right, hold on. Because that was really interesting. Did it pop out the game? Yes, it did. All right. Now let me see here. Let's have a look at this. I'm not really optimized for this on screen, but we're going to do our best anyway. There we go. All right, so let's go back to this turn. This is so interesting to me. So the options that we have now seen are Vly in that spot. So having just Chi available on your future turns for 44 is super helpful. But I just immediately had a bad reaction to that as not called for. So I'm just curious what championship player will say in this position. Could take a little bit. While we do that, I will just have a look at some of the other games that are in progress as well. So we have, looks like, okay, so we don't need this poll anymore. So we did just see Jeremy defeat Michael. Hubert defeated Chris. So I think that's it. That is a record now. That is a record number of wins after week 1. Okay, let's see. Who else? John Wrong. He also won. Weibin. Okay, Edwin actually defeated Weibin, amazingly. And Marlon just looks like he finished his game, maybe. And Marlon won as well. So that is just, wow. So we're looking at 21-4 in this matchup. That is pretty hard to ignore in terms of just total domination. Again, commiserations to Ghana. Any Ghana fans watching, as I said before, you just ran into a team that is clearly on the warpath after week one, losing in week one to Kenya, where they know that that should probably not have occurred and that it was very, very unlucky that it broke down that way for them. Okay, but let's have a look now at this position. I'm very, very curious. Okay, so this is just Quackle. I don't really put a ton of stock into this, but it's popping up with Vild in this spot. What in the world? Why? That is odd for sure. So I don't think I'd put any stock in this at all. I think we need to at least just look at bingo percentages after these plays. Okay, so there's our choices. And let's just see, how often do we allow our opponent to bingo with random racks? Random racks are obviously not a reasonable specification after Lee, right? Basically after Lee, you know that Jeremy has EI, and you could give him credit for a blank, but he's never playing an I off by itself without EI and potentially EIO. We'll give him TN. We'll give him TN as well. I'm hesitant to give a blank. Maybe I should give a blank too. Let me redo the sim from scratch. Yeah, okay, so basically with this rack, wow, it's picking 100% because with this particular rack, you're bingoing with every other consonant in the pool. The only way that you can prevent bingos is to play K1 Vly, which in fact would have worked. But the interesting thing is, when you just play your cue now, it works out pretty well for you a lot of the time. So what happens in this particular situation? So he plays townies and you have a bunch of clunk. Maybe you need to draw a blank after that. Oh, first of all, it did toonies instead of townies. Oh, wait a second. The score is all funky. Oh, no, it's not. Now it's reasonable. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I think perhaps the reason that it likes this is that if you were to draw something big through here, probably with the aid of a blank, you probably have to draw a vowel blank. But if you do, you might hit something big here. So let me see. What was the leave? QI, DLTVY. What if you had drawn, instead of MP, what if you drew like E blank? Right? Do you have anything big? Maybe that's still not enough. So you probably still have to block bingos at all costs here. I think that's definitely the way to go. So good job to people that found Vly as the option. Maybe you still have some chances of just playing Chi. Yeah, I know. I didn't fix it because it's not really relevant to just the quick. I'm not looking too deep. I just wanted to quickly see if there were any plays that would threaten here with that particular rack. Okay, all right, folks. Wow, 21-4 for Singapore over Ghana. So in case anybody was wondering, wow, Singapore, are they going to be, a #1 seed that doesn't make it? Well, they will still have to win next week probably, but I think this is a pretty clear reminder that Singapore are absolutely one of the top teams in this tournament for sure. Much as their own players are likely to push back against me in the chat right now, They absolutely are one of the top teams in this tournament, and scary to think that they absolutely shattered the individual wins record. See, look at these guys. Look at these clowns with their emotes trying to be sarcastic that they're not one of the top teams, but they are. All right. Anyway, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed the broadcast. Not right down to the wire dramatics in the final, rounds here, but a lot of really cool Scrabble that we got to see played. So anyway, let's see if we cut back to this and maybe we can update some of this stuff. I believe that Malaysia, we're just going to temporarily put this as 14 to 11. Do I have that right? We got to make it a little bit bigger. So that, I think, is how that's going to look. And today's match that we saw here, an incredible 21-4. So that is pretty cool. That's going to be very tough to top for any of the other teams. And obviously we have Pakistan, Malaysia, and Singapore are the winners. And obviously the teams not yet played are those three. There, I think that's correct. So, there we go. All right, so that is our, and I think I need to do my little bar. Where's my bar? On the fly here, having to edit these transforms and whatnot. Is that gonna do it? Yes, okay. Yeah, I will show the schedule. That's why I'm on this screen. I'm just trying to get this correct for now. So obviously that is, this is, I believe, as roughly correct as we are currently aware of with Malaysia. We know Malaysia won, but I think 14-11 is the tentative final. Pakistan versus Australia, that is the official final. And as you saw here on my stream, 21-4 in favor of Singapore over Ghana. Really, really, really impressive performance. So yes, this is the broadcast schedule for today. So I'll be signing off shortly. That was I was on that third slot in the docket. So for those who are not sated with Scrabble coverage, we had our first three matches today, and in just maybe a little bit less than an hour, Coco Scrabble is going to be coming at you with another exciting matchup, Canada versus Kenya. So Canada has snuck past Ghana in week 1, 13-12, after going down huge to start. And they have a surprise guest filling in for one of their players that cannot play today. So I encourage everybody to tune into that, find out who is the surprise guest, the mystery man who's playing for Canada today. I think you'll probably recognize him. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And anyway, once again, today's final, 21-4 in favor of Singapore. So I don't have that on my pool play standings. I will update that shortly, but you can see Singapore definitely did what they needed to do today, not only winning, but putting themselves in a position to win almost any tiebreaker involving individual game wins. So, all right, folks, I think that's going to do it for my stream now. But you can see Coco's coming at you in, as I said, a little bit less than an hour. And tonight, Benji is going to be covering the U.S. versus New Zealand. I will not be streaming my end of that. That's going to be Benji handling the call on that. And then tomorrow we've got 3 more matches, including me again, same time, same place. For me, I'll be on at 9 a.m. Eastern time, just as I was today, covering the UK versus India. But tons more Scrabble coming this weekend, just like last, and then we'll do it all again next weekend too. So thanks, folks, for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for all of the extra coverage of the Virtual World Cup this weekend. Alrighty, bye, folks.